Hola, 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 mi gente. How we feeling, everybody? How we feeling?
Feeling good, feeling
Hello,
good.
hello.
What's up, my beautiful people? Oh, this is gonna be good. It's gonna be good. All right, all right, all right. Although that's a good jam, we're not here to jam. Not today, not today. We are here to have a conversation. Shop Be Latina, please tell me we're going to see that beautiful face today.
Oh my goodness, I'm having some issues with my skin. So,
Wah, wah, wah. Well, we have a rule. You have to cam up on the block, but I will make the exception today because you are the boss lady, okay? So I will
okay,
make the exception.
thank
All
you.
right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of On the Blizzak with Jen. I am YouTube's bad girl and your favorite devil's advocate, Jen. You can reach me on all social media platforms on the block with Jen, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram for business. On the block with Jen at Gmail. I said business, not marriage proposals, not dates, business. On the block with Jen at Gmail for business. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd like to introduce my panel. Okay. We got Lily from YB Limited. We got Haran. You guys already know. Okay. We're the constants. We are the block, but we have special guests tonight. And we have one that's lagging. He's probably watching because you know how people be watching. It's like, I don't know if I want to jump in yet. It's all right, bro. It's all right. We'll wait. We'll wait. Another one of our guests is not up yet. His name is Radical Latino. He said he will be fashionably late. So we will wait for him. But before we go another further, this conversation is going to be triggering. We're going to talk a lot about race. We're going to talk about ethnicity. We're going to talk about color. We're going to talk about it all. A lot of you will be offended, and that's okay because that's what we do here. Don't forget, tonight is heavy on the race and colorism. We talking about good hair, bad hair, complexion. We're talking about the hypocrisy in our communities, meaning the black and the brown community. Oh, yes, there's a lot of hypocrisy within our own communities. And I'm going to test some people tonight. I'm going to test some people tonight. Let's see how well versed we are in our outrage, okay? So without another further, please, I warmly welcome, so appreciate the time that you guys are giving us today. Shop Be Latina and Omar Salgado. Please introduce yourself, ladies first. We'd like to get your name, your background, what it is you do, where we should follow you, what's really hood.
All right. Well, my name is Shamar Garcia. I'm the owner of Shopee Latina. I can be found on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, under the name Shopee Latina. I'm originally from Connecticut. I now reside in Miami as of the last 7 years. My background is I'm Belizean and Puerto Rican. And so I have my online brand, and I'm known for selling the shirts and the crop tops and the bodysuits that say Latina has no skin tone, as well as my other top seller, Born to an Immigrant. And on the flip side, I do have a cosmetic business here in Miami. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, like I said, boss lady. That's what I said. That's what I said.
I love it.
Thank you so
Thank
much for that
you.
introduction. Also, we have Omar Salgado, who I was very surprised is Puerto Rican, and I'll say why. Omar, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Your fine self.
So my name is Omar Aurelio Salgado. I grew up in the Bronx. I'm the owner of Fast Forward Films. I'm also head of acquisitions for Dame Dash Studios. Been doing film for a long time, and I'm a proud Puerto Rican, man. So that's just what it is. That's who I am.
I love it. I love it. Um, okay, I don't know who that was backstage. We will continue. All right, guys. So tonight's going to be spicy. Chat, hold me down. You already know how we do. If you want to support the show and help Mama keep the church lights on, hit that Cash App scrolling at the bottom. It is also On the Block with Jen. Very easy to find. On the Block with Jen on all social media platforms and my Cash App. If you want to do a super chat so we can see your comment immediately and dissect it. If you want to rebut, contradict, argue, say, that's bullshit, Jen, throw it in the super chat. We will pull it up and we will dissect it, my guests and I. So let's get into this right out the big. Right out the big. First of all, you have to understand that I feel so good and I feel at home when I am amongst my people. My people can be triggering, right? For a lot of people. Because who your people? What do you mean my people? What people? What do you mean? Right? Here's what I mean. Afro Latinos, right? And even that's up for debate, right? Because some people say, no, you're not Afro Latino unless both your parents are African presenting or Black. My mother is not. My mother looks like an Irish woman. My dad looks like Haran, right? So some people may say, well, you're not Afro Latino enough. But you know that all our identities, all our ethnicities, and all of that, it's like, it's always up for debate, right? We're either not Black enough, not Puerto Rican enough, not Latin enough, not, you know what I mean? The only people that get away with just being who they are is white people, right? They just get to be white. Us, there's always a lot of infighting, right? And I think we all know where that comes from. So let's get into this conversation. Okay. Omar, when I first slid in your DMs, because I'm a DM slider, I am. I will. If I have to put a show together, I will be skating in them DMs.
Yeah.
And thank you for responding. Truly, madly, deeply. Thank you for responding. I did ask you. I saw that you were an actor. You have your own productions going on. You work with Dame Dash. And I asked you, have you ever played a Latino, and how do you identify? Right. So let's just out the gate. How do you identify? I'm going to offend some people tonight with how I identify, but that's okay. We're going to get through this. All right. We're going to get through this one click at a time. Omar, just out the gate, how do you identify?
So that's that was a great question when you asked me, because I really never, I never played a part as a Latino. Everybody sees me as a Black man, period. That's what they see when they first see me. That's the impression. When I was younger, my father used to say something like, you would be hung twice. You'd be hung for being a nigga, and you'd be hung for being a spick. You know what I'm saying? It's the craziest thing, but that's what he used to tell me. My father is my complexion, all right, and my mother's like you, or maybe a little bit lighter.
Okay,
right, and that
so your mama fine.
My mama is yeah. My mama, she really is. She's a beautiful woman. And so that trait kind of really ran down, like her parents. My grandfather was blonde hair, blue eyes, Puerto Rican. My grandmother was darker than me. You understand what I'm saying? So, honestly speaking, I never grew up with a color complex. My parents didn't teach me, Black, white, any of that kind of stuff. I didn't really grow up with that. I didn't learn that until I started to get older and to, be in the mix. And I guess in my teenage years, it really started to hit me that I was different. Like something was different. You know what I mean? And not only was I different to the white people, right? Because I'm Black, but I was also different to my own people because I had a different mix with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like sometimes I'm around my Black friends and they start talking about Puerto Ricans and not a nice way. And it's like, oh damn, man, I forgot. That kind of thing.
Been there.
Yeah. So it's been I feel like we sit in a very unique position, with who we are.
Absolutely. So I'm sorry if I missed it. If I walked up to you and said, what are you? What would you say?
I would say I'm Puerto Rican.
Okay, you just say Puerto Rican. Okay, cool. Shop B Latina. What should we call you? Should we call you Shamar? Should we call you Shop B? Should we call you Queen B? Whatever you want to be called.
I love all those options. You can call me Shamara, though.
Shamara?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's pretty. Okay, Shamara, how do you identify? If I was just like, hey, what are you?
I would say I'm Belizean and Puerto Rican.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, you're making this easy for me. I want to make it harder, but I'm gonna make it harder. That's what I do. That's a pause. That's what I do. Okay,
but too, it also depends on who's asking, right, and how they're asking.
Okay, can you elaborate? That's interesting.
Okay, so here in Miami, it's a lot of white Hispanics, so they automatically assume I'm Black, which I am. But when they hear my last name, they're like, well, are you married to a Hispanic man? Like, how you get the last name? And I'm like, no, I'm Belizean and Puerto Rican. And so, if it's like one of them. Now, if it's someone else who I know who's either an Afro, Latino or, of something of culture, right? I would address and say, yes, I'm Puerto Rican and Belizean, because I know what they're implying and why they're asking.
Got it. So just FYI, because people are like, well, how do you identify, Jen? I do not identify as Black at all, ever. My father looks just like Haran, very reminiscent of Haran, big dude, beard, bald headed, you know what I mean? And like Omar said, if you see him, you're walking down the street, people are going to be like, oh, that's a Black man. He would quickly correct you and say, I am Puerto Rican. I am king of the Puerto Ricans. My dad is very, dramatic. But he will say, I am Puerto Rican. The reason why I don't identify as Black really quickly, because this isn't about me tonight, but really quickly, first of all, I don't want to be a quote unquote color, right? I don't want to identify as a color. I feel like Black is a color, brown is a color, white is a color. I feel like I'm way more important than a color. So I'm like, you can address me as indigenous, as Afro-Latina, as Afro-Indigenous. You could call me African. You could call me Taína. You could call me Puerto Rican, but not a color. But that's just my personal thing. I know you guys are new to the block, but here it's like we're all allowed to feel and be who we want to be. If you said I'm blackity, black, I'd salute that. You know what I mean? Because that is how you identify. That's your identity and it's your right, right? I would never question it. I would never say, oh, why don't you do what I do? Right? What I do is personal. I have my own reasons for it, but I don't identify as Black. Although in our environments, in our communities, as you know, we've heard both sides, right? Like, you ain't Black, that Puerto Rican BI, blah, blah, blah. And then we've heard the other side where, oh, you Black because if the cops pulled you over, oh, you definitely Black, right? But when they say that, it's not inclusivity with love. It's kind of like a misery loves company. Like, you're not better than me. If the cops pulled you over, you'd be Black real quick and then you'd learn who you are. You'd know your place. But where else do we hear that type of conversation? Plantation. That's plantation conversation. Well, Massa said, you black, right? We've heard that conversation there. I said again, trigger warning, this conversation tonight is going to be triggering, maybe even offensive, but we're going to get through it, I promise. Okay, like we always do on the block. So, when it's said that way, it's said in a very negative way. Give you a quick example. Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria. Trump went down there, was throwing bounty at the Puerto Ricans, right? That was the video that went viral. What were Black people saying? See, now y'all know, y'all Black too. And I was like, we kind of always know we were different from white people, but we got to let everybody live, right? But even that came from, a negative place. Like, look, you're just as Black as we are because Massa thinks so. Another thing I don't do is I do not identify according to what a police officer is going to think when he pulls me over, because then I'd be giving him power over me and my identity. So I will never succumb to, oh, damn, he pulled me over, I guess I'm Black too. Yeah, in my world, police don't rule, white men don't rule. So it's like I am what I say that I am, not what you think and not how you identify. I am how I say I am. But, it took me a long, long, long time to get here. I do want to pass the mic before we unravel that, because I know some people are like about a couple of things that I said. Trust me, I understand. And I welcome all rebuttals, all arguments, all contradictions, any question you have where you're like, well, Jen, but X, Y, and Z. I am completely open. The mics are open. Here's Radical Latino, fashionably late. You better have on some Givenchy, honey. Hi.
Yo. What's up? My bad. My fault. I didn't mean to come in late, but my bad.
All good. You are here. I don't know how much you heard, but you're going to have to catch up with the class, okay? Because I've got a lot.
I got you.
All right. So before we pass the mic, welcome, Radical Latino. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. What's your hair texture?
Me?
Yes, you.
I don't know.
You don't know your hair texture?
I don't know. I'm not a female. What the hell? No.
Okay. Can you take your hat off, or are you bald?
No.
Okay. All right. Got you. That's all I needed.
Okay. So you're a deadhead. Your hair's not kinky. Your hair's not kinky.
No.
Okay. Like if you grew it long, you'd be looking like, in the wind.
Fabio.
Yeah, I got
Fabio.
Mexican there. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your ethnicity? How would you identify?
I'm Dominican Ecuadorian, so I'm just Latino.
Oh, okay, Dominican and Ecuadorian. So if I walked up to you and said, "What are you?" You'd say, "I'm Latino."
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so welcome. Glad you are here. Lily Haran, the loves of my life. What say you right now before we get it on and popping?
Go, really.
Are you like Lily? Are you like No Saint and George just observing the Afro Latinos right now?
Oh, I'm definitely doing that. But I will. I'm. This is going to be like me, just like. Woo! But you all know I'm a resident nerd, so I love learning. So this is going to be me taking my notes, putting on my reading glasses. But as far as what I identify as, I don't like labels, period. Let's just keep it a buck. But I know that what I realize is that labels are for other people. They're not for us, right? Unless you're one of those people who is important to you. But for me, it's not important because the only label I really carry is that I don't identify with all these crazy labels. I just see myself as the spirit inside the body. I don't even see myself as this body. I see myself as the soul within this body, period, point blank. So that can embody so many things, because what I find is those labels can have you limited to a color, a gender, a sexual orientation. People just are not that vast to be able to separate those things, right? So
Absolutely.
that's why I don't like them, but I know they are necessary for the world we live in. So what do I identify as? I kind of like you in the sense that I've been identifying as Black for a long time, okay, for many decades. But in doing my research and things like that, I have come to look at it as more of a derogatory term. Of its origins and things like that. So I identify more so with my African indigenous heritage. And I'm actually in the process right now of doing more ancestry work and things like that. So without me going into a rabbit hole, but that's where I'm at. So it's taken time for me to take the Black identification out of my vernacular, and identify with more my African indigenous, but that's where I'm at today.
Okay. Well, thank you for being honest. I see you guys backstage. Backstage is full. I see you backstage. I see you waving. However, I really would like to have this conversation with this panel first, and I promise the second hour I will bring people up to rebut, contradict, contribute. I see y'all backstage. Okay. Give me a second. Oh, wait. I see someone I actually invited. ¿Cómo está, familia?
All is well. How about yourself?
We good. So glad to see you here, man. And I know you're busy. So if ever you got to dip in and out or shut down your camera, totally understand, because you are not home. But welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the invite. I was like, let me try to squeeze in at least a couple of minutes for my sister, because you're always looking out for me. So I had to do the same.
No, thank you for being here. So we're just talking a little bit about race, ethnicity, colorism, specifically in the Latin community, Afro Latino versus Black, yada yada. We're just asking how everybody identifies. Lily, I do want to ask you a question, okay? Because it kind of sounds like we're both on the same page as far as identity. It took a while to get here. I wasn't born and said, "Oh, does it call me African or Afro-Indigenous?" It took a while learning, studying, researching who I am, who my people are, what have you, right? So I want to ask. What say you when someone says, "Oh, girl, you can say all that fancy shit, but if the cops pull you over, you Black like us"? What do you respond? And I'm sorry, I'm being dramatic. I am an actress. I can't do anything normal.
Right. It's like life is better when it's dramatic, when you add a little sauce onto it. So what do I say when they say that?
Yes.
Well, I don't take on people's identities of me. So okay. I'll just kindly return to sender. Okay. Like it sounds like that's important to you. I hope you work through that. I kind of put that back on them, because that's not mine. You can take it back. I'm very clear who I am, so I don't need your input. But okay, if that makes you feel better.
I love that. Return to sender. Haran, what say you?
Oh, you know what I'm going to say? We've had plenty of arguments about
Listen,
this.
listen. We got people here who've never seen you before.
It's a bit of a joke. We're having a sociological conversation right now at its core, essentially. So, I do recognize as black overall. And when the
Okay.
conversation gets deeper, people eventually find out that I'm Jamaican, of
Okay.
Jamaican, nationality. Now, I understand the ideas people might have about labels and so on and so forth. Look, we're talking about a human structure here. You know what I mean? Human beings, we classify things. Whether or not we want to escape those classifications, that is up to you. That is a personal decision. But for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of argument, most of the time, yes, we classify things, especially from a sociological standpoint. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, I understand the issues that people might have with basically saying that they're black people because the brand of blackness is in the shitter, because degeneracy and low level, low vibration behavior is basically pushed to the forefront, and I'm not with that at all. I think there needs to be some sort of civil war. I think these people need to be taken care of, erased, removed, or the conversation be, the spotlight be on those who are actually trying to move forward and trying to redefine the perception of blackness in America and all over the world.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm trying to get Louis back because I wanted to ask him. Here we go. All right. Luis.
Sorry about that. I got booted out. I'm back though.
No, it's all Dennis. I see you. I'll bring you up in a second, darling. Luis, how do you identify? If someone would just walk up to you and be like, "Hey, what are you? You look different."
Yeah, I mean, I would give the same response that my brother gave. Personally, I say black, but when the conversation gets deeper as far as specifics, my mother's from the Dominican Republic, my father's from Ecuador.
Okay.
But I think that and this is an excellent topic of discussion that's really, really needed because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the Hispanic background by way of colonization was done by white Spaniards.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are going into the history, like for instance, the English language is not the native language of black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We speak English because based off of the language that was spoken by who we were colonized by. And it's the same thing with the Spanish language. We speak Spanish based off of who we were colonized by.
Correct.
And if we were all at, I'm saying, like coming from Africa, it just wasn't North Americans or the Europeans from North America that had their hand in the cookie jar. It was pretty much everybody, you know what I'm saying? So this group landed there, that group landed there. So I just think that a lot of times when we get caught up in the the language, or we do things this way and this specific group does it that way, but there's still a thread. When you look at the Hispanic community, you still find the beads, you still find the drum, you still find the dancing, and that right there is a sign of or a trait rather that identifies with the next group. And of course, there's a differentiation, but that has to deal with who we were colonized by. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Okay, so so let me ask you this. Isn't the word black an English word? Do you think the word black was given to the African in America? Were they stamped black, or it was something indigenous? Is the word black indigenous? It's an American word, isn't it? It's an English word.
I mean, I think we're subjected by default, we're subjected to use the language that we know. You know what I'm saying? But when we get into the etymology of the word, we do start finding that word or the definition of that word in its purest form based on whatever the language was that we used to speak. You know what I'm saying?
So how does anyone on the panel, anyone can answer this, do you have any knowledge of, or do you think the word black, the English word black, somehow translates to some indigenous identity somewhere, the way Louis said? Like how do you make black like whole and indigenous and pure? How do you make it black? Anybody?
Are we asking how do we make the perception of blackness favorable?
No.
Or what are we asking?
No. When Lewis said the word black, when you start looking into it, like in its purest form, then it makes sense to call yourself black. How so is my question. How so? Like, where is it? Like, where do you investigate the English word black to where it makes sense and something to be proud of in this country specifically?
I have no clue.
I think it has to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. No, I was going to say, I think if you speak about the English language, you pick up the word black, it really doesn't represent us in a very positive way, right? Black has always been seen as being evil or dirty or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So I personally don't have any knowledge as to what it would be, going back, in history, what that looks like, as far as that word black, where it derived from, exactly. I just, growing up, I've known black not to be, it's just never been a positive thing for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? Like for the English language, that is.
I will ask this: Are we upset with the word black, or are we upset with the perception that surrounds it? Because if we're upset with the perception that surrounds it, the perception is a result of a number of actions, a number of ideas, a number of perceptions in itself. So they can call it something else, but we'll still most likely behave in the same manner. So in order to really change the perception of something, you would have to change the behavior. You would have to change the characteristics. Then it becomes something new, no matter what you call it. You know what I mean? Everything boils down to the result of something. That's where our perception often lies. And the name is just harkens and it just triggers our perception of that thing, if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you're saying. Go ahead, Lily.
That for me, that's not what it is. For me, it's more so. This is a perfect topic and a perfect night of how I arrived here. Actually, I've seen these debates with the Latin. You black, and if the police stop you, and you look like me, and you got to be black. I've seen that, and I'm going to be 100% with you when the conversation was first introduced to my ears and eyes. I was a little confused too, because I'm just looking like, well, they do look like me. They do look black. What is the issue? I don't know, right? But at the same time, I know that I don't know. So I did a little bit more investigating, right? And what I've come to realize is this, because like I said, I was confused as well. Like, well, why don't they identify as black? They look like they're black, but this is the thing. When you leave the United States, everyone else in this world identifies through nationality or tribe, right? So, and it's only in America where we just lazy and say, you're just black, right? So it's like a lack of identity there. Everyone else, no matter where they were born, where they moved to, they know their origin, they know their roots. But with us, it's just like, oh, you got that skin, you're black, just go on, move to the side. But we don't know where we come from. We don't know our origins. So it's like, wow, damn, I don't know my origins. That's what it was for me. That's how I arrived there. That's why I have a problem with it, because it's, for me, lazy.
Okay.
I want to piggyback on what she just said. She's actually 100% right on that. There's a lot, when Dominicans come here, what's the biggest misconception? I know black, right? So the thing is it's a, you see some Black Americans say that, oh, they're just denying their blackness or whatever the case is. It's a mistranslation. The thing is that these individuals know that they're black. The thing is that they're just trying to let you know, I'm not Black American, I'm Dominican. You feel me?
Correct.
And when anybody goes to Latin America, we will know that, and people will find out that people don't identify with just race. They identify with mixture, like mulatto, mestizo, so on and so forth. So this is a concept that only happens in America. Not saying that racism isn't being affected back over there. I'm just saying that the way people identify is very, very, very different. You know what I'm saying? Especially here in America, since everything's race obsessed, everything just goes out the window saying, oh no, this and this and that, which shouldn't even be the case. So that's the reason why a lot of people say that, well, Latin people just don't identify with the African side and all this other stuff, and they just become experts on Latin communities and cultures out of nowhere just because of that one misconception.
Right. And that's a great point, because I've heard that as well. For some reason, and I had this conversation with a friend the other day. For some reason, when Black people, and I'm going to use labels for the sake of, like Lily said, being lazy, and so we can understand quickly, right? Because we don't have 10 hours to go into everybody's history. But when I've said I'm not Black, or when I hear Dominicans say I'm not Black, it's very triggering for Black Americans, African Americans. It's like super triggering. And I asked all the time, why is it triggering, right? And I never seem to get a straight answer, because then you have to look into yourself and ask yourself, as a Black American, why is this triggering me that she doesn't want to identify how I identify, right? Then the digging is deeper, because now you have to ask yourself, why does how I identify offend you, right? I said, you can call me Afro-Indigenous, Afro-Latina, Afro-Taína, or Puerto Rican. Now, if I know, let's say my immediate relative, and my immediate relative said, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'd be like, okay, ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm Puerto Rican. You don't have to be Puerto Rican in order for my Puerto Ricanness to be whole, right? So I wonder if it's triggering. And again, I'm not Black American, so I can't answer this. But if there's anybody in the chat, anybody on the panel, anybody backstage who wants to answer this, please, by all means, why are you triggered? Why does Godfrey, who, by the way, I know and I invited to a panel, he gave me the runaround in the song and dance, because he has a very viral joke that said, me no black, when he's talking about Dominicans. I said, so well, let's discuss it. And he gave me the whole runaround or whatever, and that never happened. But I wanted to discuss, why does Godfrey care? Why do you care that Dominicans don't identify as Black? Why does it hurt you so much? And then I'll pass the mic on this last question. Why does it hurt you so much when there are so many Black people and African Americans who are very proud of being Black, who yell it from the rooftops, and you got Black girl magic and Black power and Black love and all this stuff? So with all that going on, why does it pain you when a Dominican says, I'm not Black, I'm Dominican? Why does it pain you? Anybody can answer that at all. Welcome, Spro Show. It's about to be popping now.
Can I chime in on that?
You can chime in, and then anyone else could answer, whether in the chat or whatever. I'm still questioning. Some people say, well, no, a Black man invented the word Black. Or what? I've read articles. I've seen history. It's a white coined phrase. Okay, I know everybody wants to get, no, we invented Black. Spro Show, what say you?
First off, just with what you just said, does it matter? Like, and even if, like, okay, so whether
it matters.
Or not
it matters.
Yes, it's an observation. It's an observation. Like, humans, we categorize things all the time. It's an observation. The only reason why race is such a big deal in this country is because of the slave trade. And then with the slave trade, it was not like the settlers weren't like, oh, they have darker skin than us. Fuck them. Like, it wasn't like that. It was, they're at a disadvantage. Fuck them. That's what it was. And then, you know, as time went on, how do you tell a free man from a slave? Well, chances are the slaves are Black. So that's why race became a thing. And then, of course, Civil War happened. They got freed and all that. But that was just for the last thing that you said. The reason why they, I guess, Black Americans take offense when, I guess, Dominicans say that, oh, I'm not a Black American, I'm Dominican, is because they have a problem with being a Black American, because there is this narrative that is not an identity, that is not a culture, that is not a thing. And kind of to like what Lily was saying, like, you know, a lot of Black Americans, as far as like our ancestral, you know, like history, we don't know where we're from. But, you know, we're not the only people in the world that, you know, that kind of is. And like, if I really trace it back to like my ancestor, like my great grandfather's grandfather, he probably was still here in the Americas, and that's okay. Like, I like the fact that I'm American. I happen to be black. And because of that, my ancestors most likely were slaves, which is another thing. Because I feel like there's a lot of black Americans walking around, and their family might have came over here after the fact, but they're, you know, on this, you know, soapbox. But yeah, black Americans have a problem with that. So because of that, and because the narrative of that's not an identity and like that's nothing, they take offense to it. And then honestly, other cultures, because like you think about it, Nigerians, other people, they come over here and they're like, yo, whoa, don't get it twisted. And it's because we probably don't look the best to the rest of the world, for multiple reasons. I've talked to people from all over the place, and they all say, one time I had a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid from Sweden tell me that our country has a problem with race and that it was weird. That was embarrassing. That seriously.
Shamara,
I have to push back.
Hold on, Shamara. What's going on, Mama? It says devices not connected, but you did make a great point in the private chat. If you, I don't know if we're having a connection issue, but you could throw those, comments in the chat. If you go to On the Block with Jen on YouTube, you could throw those comments in the chat if we can't have you on the panel. I feel horrible because I really, really wanted you on the panel for this, but Shamara says, I think it hurts when others don't identify as black because most who make the statement, I'm not black, fit the description. It's a big deal to educate, and most who say they aren't don't know their history. She's saying I'm not sure. Okay, so I mean, that's a great statement because she says she thinks it hurts when others identify as black because most who make that statement fit the black description, but they fit the black description, in my opinion, the American black description, right? So are we talking about color? Like if your skin is dark, you're automatically black and you're supposed to say you're black. And also she says it's a big deal to educate, and most who say they aren't don't know their history. I think a Jamaican person or an African person who's dark skinned, who says I'm not black, knows their history. I mean, they straight out of Africa. So I'm sure they know they are African, but when they come here, they just don't want to identify as black. I understand it because the cultures are different. The cultures are completely different. It's almost kind of like a force. Again, I'm leaning on, is it just a misery that loves company? Do you want me to be black like you because you don't like being black, or is this negative thing? It never comes from a loving place. Like, sister, no, you're black too, because I've never heard it in that tone. I've never heard it in that tone. I've always heard it. If the cops pull you over, you're black too. Trump threw bounty towels in Puerto Rico, you're black too. That comes from a negative place. That's not a positive place that we're all together. That's a negative place.
It does, Jen. But the way that the person will state that they're not black, in my opinion, comes off just as negative. And it kind of gives a frequency of like this disassociation because of self-hatred. I'll give you an example since we're on the topic of the Dominicans, right? In the Dominican Republic, you have a lot of them who are very dark-skinned, very thick hair. And the mantra amongst themselves is that yo tengo la piel fea y yo tengo el cabello fea, which means I have ugly skin and I have ugly hair. Even when you go into the Jamaican community, they're very popular for using what's called caking, which is where they lighten their skin. So you also have to remember that in some of these Caribbean countries, we were the first primary targets of Willie Lynch, who was to put the lighter against the darker and the darker against the lighter, and the lighter got fair treatment. And we even see it in the religious attack by way of symbolism, where you paint the angels lighter and you paint the devil black. So this imagery caused a lot, in my opinion, a lot of self-hatred. So whenever we hear our people, whether they're in the Dominican Republic, they're in Puerto Rico, they're in Guatemala, when you see them just as dark as night, and they have this disposition of no, it can only be two things. One, they don't have a proper knowledge of self, or B, it's coming from a spirit of self-hatred. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Interesting.
I'm a little pushback for Scrub. I understand where he was going with it, but again, in order to really understand the core of this situation, we have to look at this from a sociological standpoint. We have to look at this as a human nature issue or a human nature defect or whatever it is that you wish to call it. Again, when you're dealing with sociology, you're going to deal with social dynamics. Okay, you're going to deal with power structures. You're going to deal with privilege and marginalization. You're going to deal with intersectionality. You're going to deal with all of these things, even outside of the Americas. They just call it racism here. They call it tribalism in other areas when everyone looks the same. It's just a matter of which there's a power structure. Some people have, a degree of resources, but at the end of the day, all human beings want to get closer to a degree of resources. All human beings want power. It is in our nature. So in areas like America, yes, you have the deifying of whiteness. You have these kind of conversations that we're having right here that you don't necessarily have when it comes to whiteness, because we don't categorize Irish, we don't categorize Russian, we don't care what they are. We just look at them and we're like, that's a white person. And that white person is going to be able to get, basically eat off the privilege of every other fucking white person. So it doesn't matter. So, those are the kinds of conversations that we need to really understand and really dig deep into.
I don't deny that at all. Like, no matter what, like, you're right. Like, as far as like people trying to get over on like another group, that's gonna take.
Oh, another thing too.
Everywhere.
Another thing too. I just want to clear this up in regards to what Godfrey said. I understand why they say that, because I've said this before. Whiteness and any other tribe in other areas of the world, they benefit from the concept of the halo effect. People such as us, we are hit with the Horn effect. And the Horn effect, you can look this up, and the Horn effect is essentially anyone who is perceived as undesirable, anyone who does not have resources, anyone who is powerless. So when those people, outside of America, when they come here and they say, hey, you're a black person, subconsciously, probably they don't even realize it. They're looking at it in the lens of the Horn effect and saying that, no, I'm not undesirable. No, I'm not powerless. No, I'm not all these other things. They're not necessarily even saying that they're not black. Again, you have to understand words and perception.
I absolutely love that. Let me pick really quickly. I want to piggyback off of that. I love that, because here Tova says, because maybe Black Americans don't want to stand alone in this fight. They want other people of color to stand with them. Or when some Afro-Latinos deny their blackness, Black Africans feel bad. Here's the thing. I'm Afro-Latina, okay? I'm Afro-Latina. If I say I'm not Black, that does not mean I am denying my Blackness, because I'm not Black to begin with, right? You can only deny your Blackness if you are indeed Black. I am not Black by identity. I am not Black by ethnicity. I am African. My ancestry is African. Taina. Throw some rape in there, because I'm Puerto Rican, right? The Spaniards. But I am not Black, right? Especially American Black. The cultures are different. Do we all meet somewhere in the middle? Like Lewis said, the music, the beats, the food? Absolutely. We all come from the same tribes. But the tribes originate in Africa, not America. So I am not Black. But when that is said, like Haran said, people, it's a sting to them, because it's like, oh my God, you don't want to be what I am, but your skin is dark and your hair is kinky. I want you here with me. So again, it begs the question once again, is it a misery that you want company for? Because let me tell you something. If I was born Asian, if I was born white, can't nobody make me self-hate or identify another way to bring someone else comfort. It sounds to me like people want comfort. No, I need you to be Black like me. Going back to what Haran said, and I'm gonna test something right now, because people are saying, well, is it self-hate because there's so much negativity? Take race out of it. Take race and ethnicity out of it. Everybody is a walking worm. There's a group of worms that are degenerate. There's a group of worms that are terrible. The media says it. Everybody says that they feel it. All they do is fuck shit up, harm each other. They're just terrible. Everywhere they go, they're like a virus, right? You're a worm. You're just a regular old worm. It's a regular old worm, right? Now that worm is called A. Your type of worm is called B. You're innocent. You're like, I don't know what's going on over there, but all the worms look alike. If someone were to tell you, oh, you one of them A's, as a worm, you would say, I'm not one of those worms. I'm a B. I am not an A. You can't make me. Yeah, but the worms, y'all look alike. You can't make me worm A. There's nothing you can do. And in the end, why do you want to make me an A? Why do you want to make me an A? What is that about? So I'm trying to. The comparison sounds silly, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible because the rebut is always, oh, it's self-hate, you denying your blackness. That's the rebut without thought. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm like, denying blackness, I am fully, proudly Africana Taína. Okay? I think denying that would be, no, I'm white or I'm Spaniard or I don't identify. That's complete like detachment. So I'm telling you, I want to dig deep here. Radical Latino, I know you had something to say.
Yeah, I want to just first of all, shout out to you. That was a very astute observation. I didn't even see it that way because it kind of does bring into question like what you're saying, that what is it about somebody not saying, hey, I'm not you, that's offensive. You know what I'm saying? It's really weird. But not only that, let's say this individual does say I'm black. Not only do they have to say that, but I believe in their mind they have to also go with the characteristics of what they think blackness is. For example, if they say I'm black, but then starts talking like Justin Lee Peterson, automatically they're going to start saying like, wait a minute, you're a coon. You know what I'm saying? So these are the type of things that we have to discuss, because when we're talking about one thing and then that thing doesn't fit the mold, then automatically the criticism still goes in. So if it's not one stage, it's another one, and then like another one. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes, that's deep. I didn't think about that. We learn here, okay? We teach and we learn.
Actually, Jen, that was one of my issues too, of why labels irk me, because when you take on a label, you take on everything that label embodies, right? And for me, I'm a part of a lot of different groups. I'm American and I'm trans and I'm black and then, so it's all of those things, right? So it's like I'm expected to agree with all my cat is acting like a kitten tonight. I'm sorry. I'm expected to agree with all trans people. It's like, no, you don't agree with us, then you're whatever. Or if I'm expected to agree with all black people, or I'm a coon. So it's like I don't agree with no fucking group. There is no group that I agree 100%, right? But I can take something out of every little group, even the ones that I'm like, oh, I don't really fuck with them, but I do like the way they do that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why I'm glad he brought that up.
I mean, yeah, that's a great point. There's always you're right, Lily. It's like it doesn't matter what label. If you take on, I'm a Christian, and then you do something that doesn't fall under what them Christians over there do, you're a hypocrite. So that's such a great point. Keith David says Hispanics feel like they better than blacks because of their skin color. Newsflash: light-skinned blacks think they're better than blacks. So it's not light-skinned black people think they're better than dark-skinned black people.
You see what I'm saying?
Who did the Blue Vein Society?
When I was little.
Come on now, like come on now.
Yeah, when they say skin color, what does that mean? Like, because I mean, I'm darker than dark, so what does that mean? I don't understand it.
Something that's interesting is yeah.
Mm-hmm. Guys, bro.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say I wrote down earlier. I was like, why don't I feel this way? And like again, I've heard this, and I'm a Black American, inner city, but I'm like, oh, I don't feel this way. And I think it was oh, now it's a party.
Yeah.
I think it was like a week or two ago. And I had said, we were talking about like, oh, it's how you're raised, like as far as like the race stuff, like as far as like self-hatred or pride and stuff like that, and like embracing your culture, like it all goes down to how you're raised. And I'm like, yo, I wasn't raised that way. And if I'm honest, like especially being a light-skinned black man, colorism and stuff, like I'm all too familiar with it. When I was little, And like I've told people this, and like they were like, "Oh, you're lying," and I'm like, "How? First off, how the fuck are you going to tell me? Like I'm straight up." And I think this is interesting. I used to wish I was darker. I used to wish I was darker because it was always the other black kid. They would point it out to me. I never noticed it. My family, again, melting pot there. All shades, all colors. Some people white, most of them black.
Would you call
all
that racism?
shades. I think it's earlier I heard Willie Lynch brought up, and I have not read that thing in a long time, but like I was like a teenager, and like my mom's husband at the time told me to read it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like it was insane. And I was like, yo, in real time. And again, I don't agree with like CRT and stuff like that, but I do think that at one point our country, and we're still kind of, I would say healing from it, like systematic, like racism and stuff like that. I think it's more class now. But even with that, it's like, yo, I've seen it in real time. And like, honestly, oh my God, Lynch was an asshole, but my God, he was a genius. Like it worked. Like the colorism thing, it comes up all the time. It's been coming up my entire life. And again, I think it's down to how you're raised. Cause you're right. There are some light skinned people that's all they bring up is skin tone. And then there's some dark skinned people, and that's all they bring up.
But do you think that that's racism, though? Like in your example, do you think that that's racism?
I don't think it's racism. I think it's prejudice and ignorance. Racism, which again, that word gets thrown around and abused so much. Racism means I hate you based off of your race, like your immutable characteristics. I hate you objectively, period. That's what racism means. Everybody, the world, for the most part, like the problems we're seeing, I think are mostly prejudices and how like we're dealing with it in the States that will lead to racism, true racism.
Well, you know, I've always said that racism is nothing but economics spelled backwards. You know what I mean? Me and Michael Jordan in a stolen car, only one of us is black. You know what I mean? And I just want to bring up one thing. You know, I'm looking at the panel. I'm assuming all of us are older people, you know what I mean, or mature people from the hood, so on and so forth. One of my favorite movies growing up was Lean on Me. Man, I used to love Joe Clark. I love me some motherfucking Joe Clark. Why? Because when he came to the school, his whole intent was to remove the bad element from the fucking school. So those who actually wanted to learn and become somebody actually thrive and actually move forward. The whole, you know what I mean, he was thwarted against because he was deemed as too harsh. And then there's this concept that no one must be left behind in our community. And if we continue to cling to that idea that no person left behind in our community, even if that element is ruining the perception of our community, we'll constantly keep having these conversations. I think there's some sort of, I do truly feel that there's a responsibility in the community to denounce that area of lunacy, that area that continues to basically fuck up the perception of blackness. And then maybe you'll be proud to be black. Maybe those Dominicans will come over and they'll be like, yeah, I'm black too. You know what I mean? If we just clean up this idea of what it is and remove the bad element. But we're taught that we're supposed to just love everyone regardless of the fuck shit that they do in our community. And we know they're fucking things up. But we look the other way a lot of times.
That's shots fired, even if it's a little BB gun. Radical Latino, let's go into the weeds. You didn't like me. Can we talk about that?
You thought I didn't like you?
Yeah, didn't you have some choice words on YouTube about something that I think it had to do with race or something?
No, it was a debate that you had with Tariq Nasheed.
All right, so
and I chose his side, even though throughout the whole video I was siding with you. Mm-hmm. And no, it was just the comments about the whole, blackness is like picking at it or whatever the case is that you went viral for. Yeah,
the scab comment.
Yeah, Even though I agree with you on that, it was just the way you said it was a little wild. I was like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so you didn't like my delivery?
Yeah, I just didn't like your delivery, even though I agree with it. I didn't like the way it just sounded because it sounded a little wild. I was like, I Oh,
Oh, you need to
no.
you need to be talked to soft. That should have had candles on.
Nah, come on. Nah, but it just sounded a little wild. That's all it was. And
So what do you think about Tariq Nasheed today? Just curious.
I don't like him.
You don't like him?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think he's a grifter. He's a con artist. He doesn't really care for his own community. He pays Latinos a lot more than he pays Black Americans for anything. So no, I don't like him.
But he made you feel good with his comments in the moment, right?
No. I just because for that debate when they were going back and forth, I agree with her in a lot of things. The only thing is that I said the comment was a little wild, so I'm gonna just give it to Tariq. That's the reason why I gave it to Tariq.
So I wish I had it loaded up. But what about the comment? What was wild about it? Because I still have video up on my Instagram, by the way. I never took it down. What about the comment was wild? Oh, matter of fact, it is in my gallery. It is in my gallery. It's under the thumbnail that says "I am a racist Latina." It's somewhere on there. It's yellow and red. It's in my gallery. FYI, I don't backpedal. I usually double down. But so what about what I said you thought was wild or you didn't like? Because I'm really curious as to how you heard it.
The way I heard it was like, just blackness is something that they keep on picking on, and black. The way I interpret it, you said the way I interpreted it was that black folks get super emotional by the fact that they get picked on, and I'm like, I agree with it, but in the same time, I'm like, damn, why you gotta say it like a scab? You know what I'm saying? Why you gotta say it like that? You could have. I feel like you could have worded it differently, but then again, you said how you said it. It is what it is. So.
Okay.
I want to turn the heat up.
Wait. Before you turn the heat up, let me just respond really quickly. Yeah. So what I said was, and I do it really, yes, please like and subscribe. I see y'all lurking like a mug. So give it time. We may explode in a minute. Everybody calm down. So what I said was that in the video, what I said was, right, I said that Black people in this country need to stop wearing their blackness as a scab that they let people pick at over and over again and open up and it bleeds. That's exactly what I said. So, but everybody then interpreted it. Everybody took it every which way.
I did.
Tariq Nasheed.
I did take it some type of way. You're right.
Tariq Nasheed, because he's starved for content, took the sound bite. And then, of course, I mean, his following is very easy. It's like Dr. Khalid Muhammad said, they're remote control Negroes. So they're very easily made emotional. And this was a Black man that said it. Very, very easy to make them emotional, right? So Tariq Nasheed knows that formula of his own people. So he said, I'm going to take this pretty light-skinned Latina and I'm going to put this on here. And then, oh, for joy, all my following is going to keep me in the algorithm. And that's exactly what happened. But you have to be smart to know what a con artist is doing. Hence, they're a con artist. That's how they make their money. But that's exactly what I said. I repeated it today. I still stand by it. I would tell my family that. I would tell my friends that. If my girlfriend called me up and said, yo, my coworkers, blah, 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 they keep making fun of I'm fat, I would say, well, then why the fuck do you give them the power, right, to make fun that you're fat? It is the same premise. It is the same thing. Stop wearing your blackness as this injury, as this burden, as a scab, right? That was a famous word. Everybody, as a scab that you let people keep picking at. There has to come a time where you tell people, fuck off. I'm Black, and that's what it is. So that was the message. But, the internet is going internet. So I just wanted to be clear. I just wanted to be clear with radical.
But didn't Tariq prove your point by doing what he did?
Yes.
He proved your point. He made it exhibit A by saying, I need to get my numbers up. And I know that Black people wear their blackness as a scab. Oh, let me go ahead and put this video out so I can pick that they're scab. That's exactly what it is.
He went wild with it, like talking about Puerto Ricans washing their joint in the river. Come on now, like you don't need to do. You don't need to prove your point by putting some people down. That's when it went out of whatever she said to now he having the issue with Puerto Ricans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. He has an issue with anyone who he claims is not FBA, which is a made-up acronym. Like he's very divisive amongst Caribbean Blacks, what are African blacks like? He's just
but
that's
yeah,
a whole
he'll give
different situation.
Latinos money to be bodyguards for him. He'll give Latinos
Yes.
money to be caterers in his fake museum. So you know what I'm saying? So like
Yes.
he can say all the stuff he wants online, but his money says something different.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to make this about that clown, but I just wanted to be clear because I know you had some heat on the nets, and I was like,
it was only one video. Let's chill. Let's chill.
all right. Está bien. Haran, you were saying?
Yeah, we're entering the second hour right now, and I would like to turn the heat up on this. I've had
Go ahead, because I
conversations
want to
with-
go over certain things. Go ahead.
Okay. I've had this conversation with Jen, and I've had this conversation with Lily. Now, I tend to classify a person based on the spaces that they occupy that they don't have to occupy. And here's the point that I'm making here. Jen looking at her and Lily looking at them, they literally could have turned their back on just the concept of blackness in itself and married white. We can all contend that. You know what I mean? These women could have married white men. They turned their back on the community and so on and so forth. But they chose to stay. They chose to acknowledge. They choose to fight because this. And for me, this shows a genuine care, a genuine belief. However, I question, and I'll say it just like this: are you proud of being black? Are you just kind of settling because you got no other choice? But accepting the fact that you're black. Like, for instance, you know what I mean? There's no pussyfooting it around it. I'm a proud black man, but there really is no pussyfooting it around for me. I'm big, I'm bold, and black. You know what I mean? Everyone knows that, yeah, that's a black guy when they see me walking down the street. You know what I mean? Now, I sit here and say this, for all the proud black people that I see, it seems like the moment you can get that little smidge of privilege and the moment you can get that out, you take that shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
You take it and you don't look back, whether it's the little bit of lightening of your hair, maybe when you're dating someone, you know what I mean, that can get you, that can move you up in the social ladder, so on and so forth, you know what I mean, or maybe even having children that are, you know what I mean, are mixed race who, since you couldn't benefit from privilege, now your lineage will benefit from privilege. These are the kind of discussions I like having, because it's like, it's real cool to swell up your chest and talk about, you know what I mean, how proud you are to be a black person. But given the chance, where do you stand? And that's how I judge you. Where do you stand when you get a chance to get out?
I think we've seen, great question. And I think we've seen that with classism. We see when we've heard a lot and it pisses the community off when a black person becomes wealthy and they say, I don't see race. Don't call me black. We've seen it with Raven Simone. We've seen it with OJ Simpson. We've seen it with a lot of black people who are wealthy. They're like, look, we've seen it with Lil Wayne. It's like, don't involve me in that. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm above that. I got this money, blah, blah, blah. People that don't have that money get pissed the fuck off. They get pissed off. Well, you still black. Again, it comes from a place of like hurt and pain and misery. And I get it. Because it's hurt and pain and misery. This again, I see this so often. This is like the third time they've said it in the chat. Most Latinos, especially the white ones, are racist towards blacks. Let's just call it what it is. Light-skinned black people, all right, are colorist towards dark-skinned black people. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. The lighter you are on the quote-unquote totem pole, the more adjacent you are to whiteness, okay, you will turn your back on those darker than you. That is not ethnicity specific. That's a human thing because of the slave trade. And beyond us here in India,
I was about to say, yeah, they're the worst.
In Asia, the light-skinned people are better. In India, they're bleaching. It is not just an American thing. Colorism is spread globally.
The biggest bleaching is in Africa. the most bleaching is in
globally.
Africa.
Is it really?
Oh God, yeah.
For real?
So they're
Yeah.
I just
you know,
know. Okay.
Yeah, I see plenty of the African women here. They have like a tan face and neck, but you look at their chest is dark brown and their feet is dark. No, I'm serious. And you see the splotches all over their hands and everything. The bleaching, multi-billion-dollar industry. The self-hate is real.
I need Cherokee Bill says I need an example of that here. An example of what? You got to be specific because I don't know what you guys are saying. I do want to. I know we have some. We got some Latins on the panel. I do notice something about Latins that I find interesting. Right. Let's talk about activism. I feel is what I observe. Right on the internet, scrolling. I do my little scrolling. I feel that Latins jump on the bandwagon as badly as white people do, pretending that they care about what happens in the Black community. I see that a lot. Example, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, things that happen like that. Latins run to blacken their Instagram and post Breonna Taylor and their, and I think it was Cardi B that had Breonna Taylor and as a profile picture for a long, long time. They do this a lot. And then I did a video running off like 20 Latin unarmed, okay, Latin men and boys and Latin women who were shot by police officers, murdered. One during the same week as George Floyd. John Acevedo was choked for 10 minutes straight. Okay. Sandy Guardiola, a decorated police officer, was shot in her bed, okay, by another police officer who went to her house for a wellness check. All right. She was also shot in her bed. Remember, they said the big thing about Breonna Taylor was she was shot in her bed. How dare the cop shoot her in her bed? But here we have a Puerto Rican woman, a decorated officer, who was also shot in her bed by a white cop, and the cop was there on a wellness check. He was just checking to see why she didn't go to work.
I was about to say she was probably well before he checked her.
Hello. So, I didn't see any Latins. I didn't see any Latins posting her picture up. I didn't see Cardi B making her, the profile picture. I ran all these names of all these Latins that were killed by cops and they were unarmed. And most Latin people just give me the puppy twist. Never heard of them? Twist. Yes, the puppy twist. Give me the puppy twist. So I have to call out the hypocrisy of the Latin community because they jump bandwagons. And it's frustrating to me. And I did a video about it. And people were like, oh my God. I even had a Puerto Rican woman, comedian, well-known comedian, Dominican, Puerto Rican. Oh, you're problematic. You're problematic. Right? No, but I was like, ma'am, did you know anyone on the list of Latins? You are a Latin woman. Do you know anybody on the list of Latins that I mentioned? Have you ever heard of a Sandy Guardiola? So it seems to me that Latins are hypocrites when it comes to activism and police brutality because they don't research their own people in their own community. It's just convenient and lazy, like we spoke about earlier. Well, let's just throw up Breonna Taylor, power to the people. Let's just throw up George Floyd, power to the people. So I find that interesting.
No, you're right. The thing is, me being a content creator, I even pointed out certain things. Mario Gonzalez, somebody that got killed just like George Floyd. This, I think, was it Terrio, I think his name is, that kid that got shot in Chicago or whatever the case is. So there was even a incident in California where a Mexican security guard, 1918, got shot up by police. And when they go, this is the thing with Latinos. We're politically lazy. And this is something that we just have to be real about. We're politically lazy. If the media is not talking about it, then we don't even know nothing about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If Telemundo is not saying it, then I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The thing about it is, and we have to be 100% real, and this is something that we already spoke about, America is race obsessed. if the victim is no, not even if the victim is black and the perpetrator is white, it will be all over the place. If you miss it, probably inside of your McDonald's bag. By the way, did you know that this happened? You know what I'm saying? When it happens to Latinos, the same exact way, nobody knows nothing about it. Could care even less, or probably they'll probably ignore it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of things that happen to Latinos, just the same way it happens to black folks, it just gets swept under the rug. A lot of us Latinos are politically lazy. When it comes to protesting for our own, we don't even show up. This is something that we have to be real about. There was a kid that got shot up by police up in the Bronx. Nobody showed up. It was only his family, and there was only 6 of them.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if we really want some change, we have to stop being politically lazy.
Okay, Luis, I want to ask you something, Luis. You said that you're Dominican and what?
Ecuadorian.
Dominican and Ecuadorian. Can you name for me any activists that are Latin?
Any activists? Can't really think of any off the top of my head.
Shit.
Immortal Technique. I'll probably say that woman that I interviewed, the Puerto Rican woman that I interviewed, I think was Maria something. I forgot her last name. But what was it? Mexican Excellence, another one. But again, I'm a content creator. I seek these people out. You know what I'm saying? So
okay, so I'll just, off the top of my head, Arturo Schomburg, Lolita Lebron, Albizu Campos, Betances, Felicita Gomez. You've never heard those names before?
Of course.
They ring a bell, definitely.
They're Puerto Rican activists, yeah.
So Luis, name for me black activists.
Black activists. You know what it is? You asking me one of those questions that I'm being put on the spot. So you know how it is, like you draw a blank and then later on it starts coming to you. Oh damn, I should have said this person. So that's what it is.
McKesson.
Yeah.
But name me off the top, just black activists off the top.
Okay, Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. Yeah.
Okay, so I did that to prove my point that, and we're just having a conversation here, but I did that to prove my point. Luis is Latino. He's Latino. Right? He said Dominican and Ecuadorian. That's Latino.
Yeah.
He didn't know one Latin activist.
Well, that's
what I'm talking about.
He's in America. And like when you said what you were saying, again, I'm
sorry about that,
you guys.
I got a really bad signal, so my thing keeps cutting in and out. I apologize, but you were saying that
it's okay.
You said that you asked that for a reason. What was the reason? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the reason is because you are Latino, right? But you identify as black. You said, right?
Correct.
Okay, you're Latino, you identify as black. Off the top of your head, you knew black activists, but you didn't know any Latino activists. So what do you say about that?
That just says that.
What do you think the reason is for that?
I think it's just a matter of me just having to get more in tune with that, and really just, being balanced, I guess, just to be transparent with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
School system, education system, maybe that's it also. Because
it's American culture.
Because I remember when I was in school, every time Black History Month came by, I'm like, okay, so when is Latino History Month coming? Because I want to know. And I remember one of my teachers told me, "Oh yeah, Latinos, didn't do anything."
Spro, Felicita Gomez, Lolita Lebron, they're American. They're American. They fought here. Lolita Lebron ran into the Capitol.
What I mean is American culture is like, we are race obsessed. However, it's because of the slave trade. So black people, so like George Floyd is going to get the headlines, and the Latin young woman in bed isn't going to get the headline. And the reason why you're saying that you've seen like Latino activists, they kind of look like white liberals, everyone's favorite, like, oh, George Floyd, and they go to that. Here's why. Our country and our culture has, contrary to popular belief, there has never been a greater time to be a person of color in the United States. Let me tell you. I could walk up to a cop and bitch slap him. And just with my phone, he's done if he does anything. He's done. The victimhood like that, there's tiers to it, and it comes with stuff, right? And the race thing, that's a part of it. Now, in America, if you black, that's a big one. You can use that. Not all the time, because again, there are systematic things. And again, it is where we are, in a sense, recovering from things that, you know, have happened in the past. But now we reward victims. I would argue that some of those Latin activists, same as the white liberals, usually it's white liberal women, it's like, oh, I'm Latin, I'm a person of color, I'm not as bad as the white people. Yeah, I'm gonna get on this. Yeah, I care about this. Yeah, rah 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 rah. And not only that, but it's the popular thing. The popular thing is to be the activist. George Floyd got choked out. You're like, where's your black square on Instagram? There were fights breaking out over that. It was the stupidest thing in the world. And I remember I was like, I'm not doing the black square. Again, we all saw the video. I'm like, yeah, that's jacked up. But like, hey, like, I mean, they got statues of this nigga. I think that's, anyway, that's an whole nother thing.
Yeah. But, so I just want to be clear when I speak of Arturo Schomburg and Felicita Gomez and Lolita Lebron and Roberto Clemente, they were here.
No, I'm not saying here. It's not about like it's people don't know about them because they're not. That's not like I would argue that Latin civil rights in the States is not as mainstream.
Right,
so that's
correct.
If these things aren't as mainstream, they're not going to get the attention.
And before I pass the mic, I really quickly do agree with you, Spro. This country is race obsessed, but the races they're obsessed with are black and white. That's it.
To my point. That's so like if it's nothing to do because get this, you know how many black people kill other black people a day?
A lot.
A day? A lot. News doesn't cover it.
Well, can I ask a question?
Are we being remote control Negroes?
Right. They do that to just like
James. James, you could come up. Don't throw shots from the peanut gallery, please. Don't do that. Don't throw shots from the peanut gallery. Don't be a coward. Come on up. When we're having the manosphere conversations, you speak with your chest. Come on up and speak to the Latinos.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the conversation. I know I can't keep everybody forever. I do want to pass the mic around and be fair. I just dropped the link. If you want to come up for the tail end, feel free to come up. If you think you can add something or you have a contradiction or a rebut, whatever, click that link. Come on up here, say it with your chest. Haran, what were you saying?
Spro, okay, so just to be clear, it's a cool time to be black or a person of color in America because you can smack a cop and put them on camera.
I'm being hyperbolic and exaggerating, but
that's a clear example of like, oh, we've arrived. You can smack the shit out of Officer O'Reilly and put him on camera. We've made it. That's it. That's what we're saying here.
I'm not again, not so literally. Again, I was being a little hyperbolic and being dramatic. But
yeah, I got it.
We've gotten to a place now. Like, get this. I used to feel a type of way. I'm gonna be honest.
Wait, one second. One second, young brother. One second. I do understand what you're saying, and I am giving you shit. But here's the thing. When this is a little bit before your time, I understand. In the world of social media, the age that you are, a lot of times you don't know something unless it's put in front of you. We come from the generation where, in terms of African studies and a lot of the ideas that we have in terms of racism and so on and so forth, we have to study those things independently when we were younger. These things weren't in schools. These things weren't told to us. We had to really dig deep and learn about particular activists. My mother made me know who Marcus Garvey was. And she sat me down and explained to me who's who and who did what and what comes from what. These things were in the home a lot of times. So I believe what Jen is also saying is that, okay, these things, these people weren't put in front of you, but it is still your responsibility to study independently and find out, who, who the Latino activists are and so on and so forth, or who the Black activists are who aren't being told, to you. I mean, there are far more Black activists than Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Trust me, far more. And I believe that's the point that needs to be said. Now, overall, again, James, please come up. Maybe you're late. A number of great, points, were made. A number of challenges were made. Speaking with your chest. Anyway, I'll pass the mic on that.
I want to say also regarding CRT and all of that. That's another. I call cap on that. I think it's ridiculous because again, it's looking at this country like, stepdaddy, why don't you love me? Why don't you love me, stepdaddy? They were saying that they were pulling books off the shelves and, oh my God, our Black and brown children are going to be deprived. They're not going to know who Roberto Clemente is. Good. I'm like, so your dumb ass can't on a Sunday or a Saturday take them to Barnes and Nobles, order it online, order a Roberto Clemente book online. That's your hands are completely tied because they're taking you out of schools. What will you do? Oh, look at this country.
It's the government's job to teach my kid. What do you?
Yeah, but
right.
I think that's kind of a blanket approach, though, right?
So what say you? What say you?
No, I mean, generally speaking, because everybody has different sets of circumstances and everybody has different realities. So yes, the education does not stop with a child going in a school where they establish this paradigm that they would be fair and equitable by providing a balanced diet when it comes to who we are as a people, especially when we as a people have contributed much to their success. We're the ones who built the country. They built and got their success off of our sweat and labor. So at the very least, you would think that we would get something that it would be equitable and fair, you know what I'm saying? So that we can understand and have an identity with who we are, So I don't know. I just kind of felt like that statement was just kind of like some type of like we're crying and we're kind of just depending on someone else. I mean, to some degree you could say that, but in another it's like with all that we've done, we deserve just as much as they've given to themselves.
Why doesn't
so who's what? Two
Right.
questions. When I hear that we built the country, what exactly did you build? Serious question. I'm not being facetious. I'm skyscrapers, the railroad, train stations, cars. What did you what did you do?
Okay, so on the physical level, right? So yeah, we built Washington D.C. They hijacked some of the most wisest of the engineers and mathematicians among us and established their communities. They basically enslaved us, and we built their financial or their economic power by way of whether it was picking cotton or just free labor. And the slave trade itself was an economic gain on their end in terms of how they established themselves by way of wealth. So so the building aspect is just not on the surface level by way of something physical. Is also about the labor that was used that made somebody else rich.
Who's we?
That was my second question.
Because it didn't make me weak.
Who's we? I did not, sir. I'm telling you right now. I'm a Black man in America. I'm pretty sure my family has been here a very long time. I have not built shit. When I say we, none of the we that would be included in a we statement from myself did not build Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's a very.
I ain't pick no cotton. I ain't get hosed down.
Yeah, that's a very narrow.
But you benefit from it, though.
Respectfully, that's a very.
It's
narrow
not
way
narrow. It's that's history. But I don't
what,
feel like I'm owed anything personally.
then maybe that's you. But to say that because something doesn't affect you per se, then that's a disconnect, right? Because if that's the case,
I'm not saying it's a disconnect. That's my history.
White folks will do the same thing in saying that modern day whites had nothing to do with yesterday, but yet they're the beneficiaries of what happened yesterday. So
absolutely.
So
let me ask you, Spro. Let me ask you, Spro. Why doesn't it affect you? Why doesn't it affect you?
Because if
Like,
I see
it doesn't
somebody, because if I see somebody as my brother, right, in the struggle, because we are all extensions of what happened yesterday, then to me that's just troubling or concerning at the fact that there's a divide, there's a disconnect, and there's a person that feels like that doesn't apply to him or her for that matter.
But I'm gonna push back just a little bit. I see. It's almost like where it's weird. It's almost like Latins choose their struggle. What do you mean, Jen? It's weird because Lewis, and I promise I'm not picking on you. I'm just using you as an example. I wish there were more Latins up here, right? But I want to have this conversation. You are Ecuadorian and Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your culture is Ecuadorian and Dominican. That's your culture. You grew up, I'm sure, eating Dominican and Ecuadorian food, right? That's your culture. That is who you are. But when you keep saying us and we and my brother and blah, 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 the reason why I throw a little cap is because your Latin brothers and sisters have also been through hell in this country. They still have a boot on their neck to this day in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, horrific things are happening. Abisu Campos was tortured in prison. But I keep seeing this affinity and this we did, and you're just leaning towards Black Americans. Yet you have this entire demographic of Latinos who also get redlined, who also get abused by the system, who are also in prison.
Absolutely.
But you don't.
Jenny, there's. I'm sorry. I think there's a lag. I'm sorry. So I wasn't trying to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, but I think I don't.
Oh.
He has such a bad.
Jen, I was
Ecuadorian Wi-Fi.
I wanted to mention that.
I just want
earlier.
To say the reason why we need our history. This is the reason why we need.
Hold on, because he's back, and I don't want to interrupt. And then Radical Latino, you could go next. Go ahead, Louis, because we lost you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I think we have all struggled. You know what I'm saying? On many different levels, and I don't know, man. It's just a tricky conversation. I just feel like this is very layered, because I think that the minute we start talking about blacks, it's almost as if it's being interpreted as if what about this group over here, as if something is being done deliberate. I don't think that's the case at all. I think we've all communities have experienced or have been under the suppression of white racists. That's just real. You know what I'm saying? And there have been instances where we have united.
Louis. Oh wait.
Okay, so what are you saying?
What I wanted to respond to that was, yes, if you're I think Louis is back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Louis, go ahead, continue.
No, I'm back. I may have to maybe do a part 2 with you guys, because
we're gonna have to revisit.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep getting cut off because the signal is bad where I'm at. So I apologize.
Yeah. Well, listen. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for giving us your time, even with the bad connection. And we definitely have to revisit, because this is a layered conversation. I'm just trying to understand certain things that I see from Latin people specifically. I
was gonna say, us Latinos, we do need to know our history. It's very important, because it also not only comes from the home, but also it has to do with individualistic, research as well. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know Latinos were lynched all throughout the South, right alongside Black folks. A lot of people don't know that Mexicans used to come here and used to go through gasoline baths, to the point where the Germans came and looked at the structure and said, "Oh, wow, that's a really good way to doing it." That's why those concentration camps became the blueprint, because of us first. So a lot of people don't know these things. until we start learning our own history, that's when we start being like, okay, well, this happened over here with black folks, but also this happened over here too. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start being multi-layered instead of just being one way.
So I think he's what Lewis said. I think it's the opposite. I think when other ethnicities start talking about suppression and oppression, I think Black Americans get offended. Because it's almost like they covet oppression, and it's like, hey, we're not sharing our oppression. We don't care what you went through. But if it's true, if everybody has been affected by colorism and racism in this country, then why can't Latinos talk about what happened to them? Why can't Asian people talk about what happened to them? Why can't Dominicans? Why can't Puerto Ricans? It's almost like you're only allowed to talk about one version of oppression and racism, and that's only Black versus white. So I think it's the opposite of what you said, Lewis. And it's not a whataboutism. It is a fact. Like, it is a fact that Mexicans, Asians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, they've also been tortured and murdered under the boot of white oppression and white racism. It's not a whataboutism.
No,
it's
no,
actually
Jenny,
what
you're
happened.
Right. You're right, Jenny. But my question is, why is it being interpreted as if when you know, in the Black community, when they're speaking, you know, on the history, why is it being interpreted as if whatever happened to the Latino side, it doesn't matter, right? Well, I'm just curious, why is it interpreted?
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because they literally say it. Because they literally say it.
Some people be like, yo, y'all never went through nothing.
Exactly. Because they literally say
I just want to say something.
wait a minute. It's not an interpretation. They literally say it. Have you been on social media? They literally say it. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear anybody else went through anything but them. They covet oppression. They covet racism. It is our baby, and you can't have a piece of our baby. It is ours. Our identity is suppression, oppression, and racism, and it is ours, and nobody else can have it. Nobody else can have it. I don't care what you went through, Mexicans. I don't care what you went through.
I had a whole debate with somebody, and I even told them the whole stat about Mexicans, you know, down south being lynched right alongside Black people. And instead of saying that's a lie, he goes, "How many? Does it matter?"
You ready to split hairs?
I said, "Does it matter?" And he goes like, "Well, if only 2 Mexicans got lynched, does it?" And I'm like, "It doesn't matter." The whole point.
And then, you know what I'm saying? See, and this statement right here, not the oppression Olympics, right? When another race or ethnicity talks about the tragedies, travesties, and horrific things that happen to them. Oh, now you're playing oppression Olympics. Like, no one else can talk about what they went through in this country. I find that interesting. Even with you, Luis, you are Latino. You're Latino. But when you think about oppression and racism and we built the country, you don't mention Mexicans, you don't mention Latinos. You're talking about Black people. And here's where it gets tricky. Let me say reparations. And then Black people are going to be like, oh, they ain't Black no more. They ain't Black. Let me mention reparations. All right, I'm Black today. I want my motherfucking reparations. My hair kinky. I need my reparations. Then it's different. Then it's all. Then Black people will be saying, "You know, Black." That's what's funny.
Well, yeah.
Well, we need to really, you know, put this into what this actually is, and stop dancing around it. Okay.
All right, and then we got to pass the mic to the ladies because they've been very patient.
Okay, not a problem, ladies. I'll make this short and sweet. Listen, Black people in America, their power lies in victimhood, and they're not sharing that with any fucking body. Okay, if you let them tell it, slavery only happened in America. When in fact, based on the database, as I have said before, most slaves went to the Caribbean. Very small number came to the Americas. But the narrative has constantly, the narrative has been allowed to run rampant that only slavery and debauchery and all kinds of violence, only Blacks in America have ever experienced that. Now, here's the thing. Here's where I have an issue with Latino activists. I think in many ways they're cowards because they choose to discuss Black trauma only, because discussing Black trauma only in this country as Latinos is a safe way to put yourself in the activism space. If you really want to discuss the activism and so on and so forth, discuss blacks, but also discuss the Latinos that put their lives on the line. Because guess what? Latinos were out there also getting whooped, beat, so on and so forth. And another thing, one last bow that I'll put on this in terms of education. Stop depending on them to teach your children. They will never teach your children about their triumphs. They're always going to teach your children about their failures. Anything in remotely similar to triumph, that's for them. The Boston Tea Party, them beating, World War II, so on and so forth. Anything that triumphs, that's their shit. You got dragged from Africa and you got your ass beat. They're not going to tell you about Oklahoma. They're not going to tell you about Rosewood. They're not going to tell you about the times that you fought back. They're going to tell you about the times that you got your ass whooped, and they're going to tell you about, and they're going to remind you that at the end of the day, you're still perceived as less than in this country. And I'll pass the mic on that.
I want to acknowledge Crazy Legs, Puerto Rican hip hop icon in the motherfucking building. What's up, Crazy Legs? Good to see you. Crazy Legs says, I was teaching at Howard University and got arrested 5 times in one weekend. I wish I knew I could have sued.
And we got a super chat, Jen.
You said you were black.
Hold on, Jen. We have a super chat.
Okay, thank you for the super chat, James Oko. James shooting from the chat. He ain't naming names, so I don't know who he coming for. But he said, it just rubs me the wrong way when biracial people try to tell dark-skinned blacks about how racism isn't that bad. Speak for yourself, motherfucker. You
At
didn't,
me next time, James.
Oh, that was for you, Spro? That was for you, Spro?
At me next time.
Okay, that was for the Spro show. Okay. All right.
Cam up.
Well, Spro said, come get this smoke. Let's pass the mic to the ladies. I don't know. I'm sorry, ladies. I don't know who was here first. I don't know if it was T Bizzle or Holly. Don't matter. T Bizzle, you good? All right, Holly, take it then.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Hi, Mama.
Looking beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, Lord, goddamn.
Now you make me blush.
Oh, I was looking at you and the girls. Let me sit down before I get back. Go ahead.
No, it's interesting because I find this conversation, when I read the title Black versus Brown, what is the real issue? And to me, I'm just going to step all the way out. I don't know if it's been said, but just the mere fact that it is a debate and it's always a heated, I'm not going to say in this situation, but it does, like, we bump heads. But to me, it ain't black, it ain't brown. It's like, look at how the pot gets stirred. And unfortunately, it gets stirred behind the majority, because it's just like, this is a never ending conversation that I've seen. And I'm just like, but we all been oppressed. And it's like, I don't like to compare oppression, like you said, getting into the oppression Olympics. It's interesting because I used to be one of those people where it's just like, oh no, blacks ain't gone through, Black Americans ain't gone through all that. But then it's like, when you actually open up and see, it's not really like just America, it's just the English Empire. When I tell you that crown that had so much input and been stepping on people's necks, it's just crazy. And I think for me, and it might be different because I've been dark skinned. I mean, listen, I've been dark skinned all my life, but I think it only really came up in terms of black versus white, and when it became black versus brown, when it came a debate, actually when I moved to South Florida, because you see a lot of segregation down here, down to the point where like, oh, you not Caribbean, oh, you not a Black Caribbean, I can't talk to you. Or are you Mexican and I'm Cuban, oh, I can't talk to you. So it's like that division. That's like you said, when you were talking about Latino activists, I'm like, I know they exist, but I don't see them down here. I really don't. The only type of activism that I see are the Cubans that are with the activism in Cuba. But other than that, I don't see the Venezuelans talking about black versus brown in any type of activism. I don't see the Colombians, whomever. It's normally just Dominicans, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans. And that was my question. How come that activism is such in a small little pot of people when it has
I can answer that. Okay. I can answer that. I think it's because the Latino ethnicity is unique in the realm of there are a lot of white presenting Latinos.
Okay.
So if you are white presenting in this country, you're not going to feel the sting of colorism and racism like us colored Latinos, right? So they can't even relate. It's like, oh, what those Latins over there are going through. Well, that's not me. I'm blonde, blue-eyed. My hair blows in the wind. I hope you guys are okay, though. So I think that's why I think that's why you don't see more Latinos fighting for rights and stuff, because they feel like it doesn't affect me. And here's the thing. I'm not even mad at it, right? Because everybody has their own reality. When the movie The Heights came out, the musical, and people were arguing, there are not enough dark Latinos on there, Afro-Latinos, where the Afro-Latinos? And here's the thing. I grew up in those areas in New York City. The movie was accurate to me, and I'm coming from an Afro-Latino space. It was accurate to me. There were not a lot of Omars in the neighborhood. My dad. Dark-skinned Puerto Ricans were rare. So when I saw the movie The Heights, I was like, it's pretty accurate to me. I don't know what y'all are mad at. Also, I'm about change. I'm a writer, right? I'm about change. I'm going to create what I want to see. I'm not going to depend on any pale face, be they Latino or Caucasian, to put me on the map or throw me a bone. I'm just not. And I know some people are going to give me pushback, but no, we built the country. They owe us. I don't have time to see if you feel like you owe me. I don't have the time. I have children, grandchildren. I don't have the time to sit around and keep pulling on your pant leg. Like, come on, we pick cotton. Help me. I don't have the time. We have a limited amount of time. So Lin-Manuel Miranda is what I call a white Tino. Radical Latino is a white Tino. That's a white Tino. That man, you could present as white. If you put on a Trump hat, okay, and some jeans and a dirty lumberjack button down and stood in a crowd of Trump supporters, no one would say, oh my God, look at that brown person. You would blend. So that's what I mean by white presenting. I am not white presenting. Lin-Manuel Miranda is white presenting. So he's going to give the story of the Latino from his lens. He's not going to run out and find a whole bunch of dark and brown skinned Latinos to put in a film. I was not offended, because here's the beautiful thing. I'm a writer. All my characters are Black and Afro-Latino. There's power in the pen. I'm not depending on Lin-Manuel Miranda to represent me. I represent me. There's power in the pen. All my characters are Black and Afro-Latino, just like all of his are going to be white presenting, right?
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's not, to me, and I could be wrong, but living down here has been a rude awakening in terms of the melting pot in certain areas. And just like you said, it ain't Black or white or Latino, it's how close to whiteness are you? That's the biggest thing. It's not even, to me, I see racism, yes, that does happen, but in certain areas it's more of a colorism thing. And it's honestly, that being down here was the first time I ever experienced that, because growing up in my household, I guess it wasn't never a discussion because I grew up in a military household. So growing up in a military household and living overseas, you see all these different people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm reminded that I'm Black, but I guess, I don't know, maybe because I've just never had that experience. I mean, I worry more that I'm a woman, because my gender comes first.
Hello.
And I'm worried more about that and my safety and this. Other than that, I'm just trying to pay these bills.
That's about it, girl.
Amen.
Can I add something?
I know Lewis had some pushback for me, because I saw you nodding your head when I said something, Lewis. You had some pushback for me.
You said a few things. I'm trying to figure out which one.
Go ahead. Pick one. Anyone.
No, I mean,
go down the list.
Pick a card.
No, I just think that.
Here we go. The white man is the reason for everything. Hi, Ish. Before we get into the white man is the reason for everything, let me hear Lewis. Let me hear Lewis's pushback before we get into that.
No, it's just that when you brought up the reparations,
I want my reparation.
Right. No, you kind of mentioned it like, I don't have this time to wait for this and that and a third. And it's just like, that's not we're not begging. That's number one, like asking for reparations. And I'm just saying that's how it came off. Like we're not begging. Like if you go to work right now and you put 80 hours of work and you show up on Friday to pick up your check and they like, yo, we ain't got nothing for you. I would really like to see anybody's reaction to all that work they put in and not get no paycheck, let alone we put in over 400 and something years of sweat, labor, and deaths and lynching and built up this country. And we're not supposed to ask.
Who's we, Luis? Who's we? You're Latino, you're Ecuadorian and Dominican. Who's we?
But then.
But listen. I know this is what's going on. You're going after the technicality factor, right? You're basically saying.
Well, I mean, from that logic,
really quickly, let T Bizzle say just one thing, and then we'll pass the mic because she has been so patient. I want to be fair.
So you're basically saying you're going after the technicality factor that because my father's from Ecuador or that my mother's from the Dominican Republic, that when I say we, that's not necessarily congruent because the lineage that I represent was not here to go through what blacks went through. These are still my brothers and my sisters. You understand? Like just because my lineage wasn't here to feel the suffering that took place here, that does not disassociate me from still being part of that. You understand what I'm saying?
All right. So I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you're owed a reparation check as well, or you just fighting the good fight for black people?
No, I'm fighting the good fight. You know what I'm saying? Because these are my brothers and these are my sisters. I still see myself as alike. You know what I'm saying? So whether I get a check or not, it's not about Lewis. It's about the overall. It's about the collective. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, the collective black people, not Latinos. The collective black people.
But see, but you got to get into you.
When it gets good, it always cuts off, man.
I know.
Oh, damn.
We're gonna have to do a part two. We're gonna have to do a part two because the getting is good. The getting is good.
I just asked the question.
Let me.
He's back.
Let me just give an example because everybody's situation and upbringing and lineage is different. You know what I'm saying? Now, and here's an example, right? So we automatically think that because we hear the term Ecuadorian, that's automatically associated with Latins, right? So did you know that when the transatlantic slave trade was taking place, Ecuador was the first spot that the Africans, the few who escaped, they went into a part of Ecuador called Esmeralda, which in English means ruby. And the nickname that they have in that town right now is called La Tierra de los Negros, which means the land of the blacks. So if these are Africans who ran...
The white man holding your internet connection back.
Right, I saw that.
Does anybody? I'm sorry. Does anybody understand what I'm saying regarding this debate I'm having with Lewis? Does anybody understand?
I'll give you an example. I'll give an example from my perspective. I understand the reparations argument in America for Black Americans here. Am I owed a reparations check? If by some chance, the white oppressor decides, to sign the check, no, I'm not owed that because of my lineage. What I want to see that, for, Black Americans here, absolutely, why not? Because based on my lineage, it's someplace else. But what Jen is saying, and I'm asking her this, are you basically saying the fact that he doesn't identify as Black or Black American, he needs to understand where his fight is? Because when he says we built the country and so on and so forth, he's not necessarily talking about we in the context of him being Black, a Black American. Is that what you're saying, Jen? He's from Ecuador and another place?
No, I'm not saying that. He identifies as a Black American. He
Oh, he
identifies
does.
as I didn't identify him. I
Uh-huh.
said, how do you identify? He said he
Oh, okay.
identifies as a Black American. But when I said, should you
Okay.
get that check? He says, no, I'm
No.
fighting for my Black brothers and sisters, right? Which is
Okay, so that's
fine.
what's confusing.
Anybody could fight any fight. Listen, if you are white and you want to fight for us, power to the people, mother, get on in there. You got privilege. Fight for us, right? So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it sounds like talking out both sides of your neck, or it just sounds like conveniently jumping on to, well, let me fight for the Black brothers. I don't want a reparation check, but I'm gonna fight for them. But then completely forgetting you're also Ecuadorian and Dominican. They got fights too. So I'm just, again, I'm saying Latins. I'm saying,
Jenny.
right, but you don't address those or care about those. You didn't even know any
Jenny,
Latin activists. Is my point.
Because I was born and raised here, so I'm not going to take a flight to Ecuador and start fighting a battle on a terrain that I know nothing about. That's just
But
like
there's, I know, but there's Latins getting fucked in the ass here, Louis.
yeah, for one but that's
Right
what I'm saying.
here.
From my perspective,
Right here.
one represents the other. So you're seeing it from a standpoint of like groups and community. I don't see it like that. I see it as that all of us are under that banner, because when they kill us, they're not asking you for your background.
And I think you're confused about what I'm saying. I know it's all of us. It is people of color in general. All of us come from the African diaspora. All of us. I know that. But what I see online and what you're exhibiting today is Latins conveniently pick the Black plight. And I'm just asking why.
That's all.
That's what I'm asking. Is that confusing? Am I confused?
Right.
Jen, you have a super chat?
Can I? Go ahead.
Hold on. Ish. Thank you for the super chat, James Oko. James says certain Blacks are cowards when it comes to speaking up for their race. Easier
to kowtow.
Okay.
I have a question for
thank you
Louis.
for the super chat.
I have a question for Louis.
Okay.
Based off of something he said. So, based off of the logic that you gave, Louis, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I know you didn't agree with Jen with the begging comment, and so the logic.
And I never said begging, and Jen never said begging.
Correct.
All right. So, but the logic that you gave did kind of come off as begging, and I'm like basically is this, right? The logic you gave was you go to work, you don't get paid, which technically none of us on this panel did the work, but okay. You go to work, you don't get paid, right? And then you show up, you're like, hey guys, I did the work on the 40 hours. Can you go ahead and run me my check? They're like, oh yeah, we'll get it for you. Okay, cool, thanks. Come back again. Hey, the 40 hours, and there's another 40 on top of that. Can I get that too? Yeah, we'll get you. And you're doing that for year after year after year, and you ain't fucked shit up. That's begging. Like, after a while,
should have been legal action involved. And the point here that's being made is that at the end of the day, and I'll stand by this, and I said this before, and Ish was here, unless there's a solid consequence attached to not giving up reparations, y'all gonna be asking for this shit 100 years from now.
That's my point. That's my point.
I absolutely agree with, if you do not write that check, then you're going to lose this city. You're going to lose these finances. You're going to lose this vote. You're going to lose whatever. We will disenfranchise our activity in this entire country. So if we can, and even if we don't have 100% participation, because it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but if we have a participation of large numbers, that it will be effective ultimately. So, I mean, it's really taking a stance and being vocal, and in relationship to why there are not Latino activists, for lack of a better term, that are not popularized. I think this just has not been that lightning rod individual that has recently, not in the past, but recently.
That's not true. That's not true. There's a girl that's as popular. Yes, there's this girl that's as popular as Tamika, whatever the hell. As a matter of fact, they were working together. And I was like, I don't know why she's working with Tamika, because Tamika Mallory don't give a fuck about no Latins. I don't know why Latins do that. They just don't. She just doesn't.
I think
and then eventually I saw them do this, separate, because it's like Latins have this thing where it's like, oh, I want to be Black. And you have to understand that Black is a whole different culture. It's a whole different culture. And even in Africa, por Dios, they were different tribes. Even in Africa, there were different tribes. Like that tribe wasn't messing with them. That tribe wasn't, unless they had something to barter. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why here it's no, we're all together. We are not. We're different tribes. We fry our bananas different. They're still bananas, but we fry them differently.
Well,
I don't get this. I don't get this. I feel like it's fake. That's what it is. I feel like it's fake.
There's a difference between differences in personality and expression and race. You know what I'm saying? Because under the scientific lens, we're Black. You know what I'm saying? But so yeah, this person does this person sings this way. That's more of a personality.
Well, me no Black, me African.
Let me just add something real quick about I think Shorty in the bottom says that she had a different worldview.
Holly.
She went to Florida. Yeah, Holly, my fault. What's going on? What's up? What I want to say is that here in America, Latinos get lumped into one group, regardless, however, Anglo-Hispanic feels about every other brown person. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, these individuals could care less about the plight of an immigrant, the plight of any other Latino whatsoever. They care about them, and they actually see themselves separate from other Latinos. They see themselves as white. I don't know, Jen. I don't know if you could probably attest to that, but don't you live in Florida? You probably attest to that, right?
No, not Florida. I'm in Nevada, but I was born and raised in New York City.
My fault. Yeah. So, but
I was born and raised in New York, though. Viste.
Perdona, excusa. No, but
you're in America. Speak English, coño.
But the Anglo-Hispanics that I've encountered, they pretty much say, hey, we're different. Even though they were born in Mexico, even though they were born in the Dominican Republic, but because of that white skin and then blue eyes, they see themselves as completely different. And the messed up part about it is, here in America, since we're lumped in together, whatever fuckery they do, we get the brunt of it. Look at what this Latino did or whatever, like a Nick Fuentes. You know what I'm saying? So
see them Latins, and it's good because that's a great segue for the next portion. I want to talk about the Black and Brown Coalition. We hear that a lot, but you're absolutely right, Radical Latino. It's like, see, I told you them Latins was racist, and I'm like, hold on, bitch. My whole world is Black and Latin. Don't throw me in that.
No, like I said, I noticed, and it's literally because number one, when I first got down here, I'm thinking I'm seeing like white, like the Anglos and the Saxons, and then I hear Spanish, and I'm just like, oh, okay, they from Argentina and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like, because I've lived in places where you do see Black and brown people that come together. You see the Puerto Ricans come together and all that stuff like that for activism and stuff. But when I got here, I'm like, well, where it at? Like y'all don't even play Telemundo on a certain channel. Like y'all just don't integrate. There's a lack of integration unless it's talking about the Republican Party or anything that's happening in Cuba. That's it. That's all I see. So that's why I was just wondering, like, why isn't there like a connection between the activism that you see in other Latin communities, but you don't see it with those that Latins that have their heritage coming from like South America? I was really curious about that.
Yeah, but that's why.
Yeah, can I respond?
And we can't hold on, and we can't deny that with the explosion of social media, the most divisive tool on planet Earth. This is way better than slavery, by the way. Way better than colorism. Way better than racism. Like it's like it just add water and divide everybody. I grew up in the Bronx, born and raised Black and Puerto Rican. My entire family, my friends. My whole world was that. With the explosion of social media, I'm like, I'm enemies with who? Like every day I was hearing I got a new enemy. I'm like, Dominicans? Black women? What? Like every day they're throwing another enemy on you because it keeps you on social media, talk shit. Bitch, and it keeps you going back and forth. But this is not my world. like the whole divisive thing. I was like, this is not my world. Now, with that said, is somebody gonna be like, oh, well, I was in the Bronx and some black dude punched me in the eye? Of course, yeah. Of course, there's gonna be incidents that happen right here and there. But the melting pot of New York City is like no other when it comes to Black and Latino. It is literally like no other. So if I was to go to Florida, that would be a culture shock for me, because I know down there, the white Tinos, okay, they're very specific on how they identify and present. I know that for a fact. I hear a lot of stories.
Yeah, and then it gets even different as you move up and down in the state. So it's sort of like here in South Florida, okay, well, Central Americans, they live closer to Fort Lauderdale, and everybody else lives in Miami-Dade. But then when you start getting up, then that's when you see Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Orlando.
You also have to remember, Latinos are not a monolith. You know what I'm saying?
I'm definitely not saying that,
because you're gonna have certain people saying, well, I experienced racism in California in the West Coast by Mexicans, and then come to this panel and says, y'all all think the same. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's
but-
the reason why I wanted to just put that in.
Yeah,
I just want to ask.
but no stretch of the terms, because again, that's the same thing about Black people, what they say about Black people. So by no terms am I saying are you monolithic. I'm just saying the difference when you talk about activism and with different cultures with that, with the Latinos. That's all I was saying.
A quick question. I have a question for the Latins on the panel. What are your thoughts on immigration and the fact that a number of Black Americans are growing in number against the idea of immigration in America?
I'm not Latin, I'm Black. I want my reparations checked.
I
Thank you.
could care less about immigration. I'm not for or against it. But the thing is that we do have to understand that immigration is being used as a tool to go against us. Immigration in these like facilities, you having females getting forced hysterectomies. This is by plan. This is by choice. Even you have in California, Texas, and New Mexico, you have citizens, Latino citizens, who are getting deported back to Mexico, and they're suing the custom patrol agents, and they're finding out they can't get money because they just passed a new law saying that you can't get these people can't get sued for mistakenly deporting you. So the thing is, it's not for or against it. The thing is that we're being targeted in a certain sector in the United States, and we have to start speaking about that. And this is something that we definitely have to shed a light on.
Omar, what say you?
Yeah.
Well, that subject is very all right. So my wife is Black American, right? And she works for the city of New York, and she actually works where they're bringing the immigrants in. And she also does fraud investigation for welfare and all that other crazy stuff that she does, right? And so her perspective on it is very different. But I think it's more so. I don't know if it's Black or brown. I just think as a person living here in this city, when you got other people coming in, they're taking all of these. They're using hotels, they're taking schools, and placing these people in this, in our cities the way that they are, and they're ignoring what's going on right here in our city, like the people that are actually suffering and that are homeless, so on and so forth. They're actually skipping over those people and just coming and bringing those people in and actually really laying out the red carpet. Like if a family comes in, they immediately need. They have to have their own bathroom. They have to, everything has to be laid out for them. But somebody that actually lives here, that actually suffers, here in New York City, can't get that same treatment. So that to me is a little bit different. But that's an issue that I have with the immigration. That's my issue.
Omar is an example of Black and Brown Coalition. Like I said, I'm born and raised in New York. His wife is Black. He's Puerto Rican. That's the New York. That's how I grew up. We were like this. Okay. That's the New York. That's the New York.
this is the thing. I live in a black and brown neighborhood, but then I've also had a second place in Miami for a number of years, and it is a world of difference. And just like New York, right? NYC is not New York. Miami is not Florida, right? So it's a lot of little nuance there. So the Latinos, Spanish speakers in South Florida are completely different from the ones in North Florida. So there's a lot. There's a lot here.
I also want to say to the immigration thing, I think it's another form of oppression. I think it's another form of racism. As far as what Omar said, first of all, people have been migrating for centuries. That is what people do. People always go where the opportunity is. As far as them getting opportunities, these people really are coming with the clothes on their back. So I feel a certain way. It's like I can't look at someone and feel a ways that they're getting help and they're here with the clothes on their back, and I'm born and raised in this country. I can't side-eye that person that's here for a better life and they're here with the clothes on their back. That's all I got to say about that. Like, I can't oh, why you helping them first? I'm born and raised here. If I ain't got my shit together being born and raised here.
There's also a popular misconception saying that once immigrants get here, they get credit cards, money out of nowhere. That's not true. They gotta. There's a process for that, you know.
And they're not all Latino. The emphasis is put on Latino because it's better headlines. But there are a lot of immigrants from all over the world, and some of them present as white. Okay, we looking at the Ukraine. They come from all over the world. It's just the emphasis. The better headline is those Mexicans, and the majority aren't even Mexican. They're from other Spanish-speaking countries. Haitians are coming too. So it's like Cubans. Like, a lot of people are coming from all over the place. But because Mexicans is a hot button topic, this just make everybody Mexican and be better for like when Trump talks and shit like that. So you got to understand, we live in a system where it's a continuous attempt to divide, and have us arguing amongst each other. That's why the 1% is called the 1%, because the crabs in the barrel are all climbing on each other, right? They're very, very good at organizing and designing that, so we can all fight each other. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. Ish, I know you wanted to say something. If you still remember.
Yeah. I mean, just a couple of points, and I'll be brief. When you made the reference about the division between the different tribes in the past, a lot of those divisions didn't happen until there started to become a European invasion into some of those regions, and they started dividing and separating the different tribes. One example is the Hutus and the Tutsis. They were one tribe up until the Dutch came into that country, and then started saying, well, you look a little different over here, and you look a little different over there, and then divided them, and then started giving them concepts of this tribe is better than that tribe, and started creating a different infrastructure within the sociology of those groups. And then they started warring against one another, because it benefited an outside oppressor. Again, ergo, that's been the history for many different tribes. A lot of different tribes in different regions in Africa were always collectively one, and they started being divided into others. Just when you look at the same with Iran, Iraq, all that was once just Persia up until the UK or England got involved. So with that, the argument of stating that we were divided in Africa, it was just a different conceptually, the divisions, but ultimately we still move collectively as one. We just, branched off over here for, growth, families, and saying, hey, I want to start my own village over here.
That doesn't make sense. Then that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. If you are all one people, why are you branching off? Obviously, there were differences. That is the only time people branch off, when there are differences, right? Difference from the collective. Now, I'm not saying that, Africa was at war. I never said that. I said there were always different tribes, and there were always different tribes because they were different traditions, okay? They had different traditions. They were not all, there's all I'm saying. Africa was not one big, huge people. Okay, who all wore the same beads and the same plate in their mouth and the same garb. They were not all one people. And I understand where you're coming from, Ish. The white man is the reason for everything. But even in Africa, there are different regions. There are different flags. They don't do what they do. They don't do what they do. That doesn't mean they were at war. My point was that they were all different. Now, what you're talking about is something else. The white man came in and started dividing people. Yeah, he still does that today. He does that on YouTube. That goes without saying. But I'm saying in Africa, it wasn't a kumbaya, everybody together, or they wouldn't be people branching off, as you said.
Well,
I just asked a question.
Sometimes
wait.
Hold on. Let me just close on this point. Some people branch off sometimes for resources, but I agree with you. Yes, there are differences, and we have differences within our family. It's like, well, if we can't get along here, I'm just gonna move. So I get you. But I'm not saying that it was just everybody was love and kumbaya, and there weren't wars and there weren't, battles and whatsoever.
That was my point. Before the pale faces came, though. Before the pale faces landed, though, I'm talking about.
Before the Caucasians.
So that was my point.
Right. I mean, I got you, but it was a different dynamic because many times we didn't even have names or tribal names. We saw ourselves as the people. That was just it.
Oh, I reverted back to my Taino. I said the pale faces. I said the pale faces. There's a boat.
and Haran, before you respond, in relationship to not receiving reparations, Jamaicans were enslaved as well. So they're entitled. They're entitled. So if there's a check that needs to be cut, it's an international check, and it needs to be diversified amongst everybody that has been affected by that. So no group is technically excluded from that dynamic when we talk about the Caribbean and the African diaspora. So to
be clear,
about South America.
To be clear, when I said in terms of reparations in America, I'm talking about how it affected Black Americans, not reparations in terms of Jamaicans. So that's a conversation that needs to be had with England. That is another conversation entirely. Now, if England decides we're just going to give it to the Jamaicans, that's rightfully so. And they say, hey, we're ignoring the African Americans. That is rightfully so. Now, if the African Americans got their shit and the Jamaicans did it, yeah, that's rightfully so. That's where I stand with it. I'm discussing on where the blood was shed and who owes the check. Now, here's the thing I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the core of your thinking right now. Are you saying that Africa, we'll just call it Pangea for right now, Africa was one big utopia, one point in time where everyone got along, and then the white man came in at some point in time, basically said, basically said this tribe is this tribe, that tribe is that tribe. We started warring. We started having POWs and shit like that. And the white man decided this is the end of the long game. Let me go grab the niggas over there that basically lost the war, throw them on a boat and bring them over here and build America. Is that essentially the cliff notes of what you're saying and where your thinking is, that they divided us and from a particular point played the long game, took the POWs and brought them over here to America? Is this your path of thinking?
To some degree, I would say yes, but when I said, but there's so much historical underlaying into that's an oversimplification. That's an oversimplification of the actual reality. And just like Jen said, there were differences, there were divisions, but many things were handled differently. Even if you look at the history of the Zulus, when the Zulus went to war with other tribes, before Europe was actually involved and before Shaka Zulu took control, there was actually not a non-physical warfare. It was more of a competition between the tribes as far as movements and whatsoever. So again, we're talking about layers. We're talking about history. So to just oversimplify it and say that it was all kumbaya and every African was holding hands and doing all this, that'd be disingenuous and not true.
Ish, respectfully speaking, even though it was, we'll just say it was an oversimplification. I'm just giving the cliff notes, but the idea of that is just it's just irresponsible to even throw that idea out. That no, wait one second, brother. Because here's the thing: from the giddy up, you're basically creating this perception that Black people had absolutely no independent power, no ability to think critically, no ability to, be held accountable for their own actions. You're just going into the narrative immediately that we can be easily manipulated. We can be easily controlled. And this is one of the reasons why I have a problem with what's going on right now. Because in America, we just constantly come from a space of subjugation, a place of powerlessness, a place of believing that we can only gain any kind of traction in this country if someone allows it. If someone else gives the green light. You're coming from a space where you're painting our people as children from the giddy up, as children who can be manipulated and basically just pawns on a chess piece that the white man basically, puts and shifts and puts where he wants, and he is the ultimate decision maker in it all. Because at the end of the day, if you're shooting for reparations and the whole shit, you're basically saying that white people have to make the decision on whether or not you can go out there and actually, have some sort of economic, relevance in this country. It is on the decision of white people.
We took the long way, but here we go. Here we go.
Let me respond. Hold on. That was directed towards me, so I want to respond so we remain current with this conversation.
Yes, sir.
Let's be very clear. When Christopher Columbus landed in Puerto Rico in 1492,
Dominican Republic,
saw the good nature of the Taino people and the receptivity that they were to these strangers. His letters that he wrote was, we can do something against these people very simply. So when you talk about the manipulation of the good nature of what was with indigenous people, yes, there was a manipulation that shifted. They hid their initial intentions, and then they manipulated and then killed those who resisted. So there is a history of that dynamic. Does that require us to be in that same subjugated state of mind now? No. Do many of us walk with that mentality? Yeah. I understand your point. I'm not saying that we are in a perpetual state of victimhood, but we do have a victimology in our mind. And until we get to a point where we divorce ourselves from the creature comforts of the Caucasian in this country, will we not actually truly be aggressive towards our freedom? So when I address that, we have been highly manipulated as a people. We have been affected. We have been attacked on many levels, and we have not gotten to the point where there is a rage inside of us to address that truth. That is the issue. We still want to try to be complicit with our open enemy who has proven himself. So whenever I raise these points, I'm identifying the perpetrator so that we can then look at him not with this eye of some way we can kind of kumbaya the situation. We need to see who our true enemy is and how to address him, and then collectively move for success. That's my point.
But let me just say something. Pointing out your enemy and knowing what he's going to do and his tactics, wasn't that already, there's books on this, right? So why not just learn how to curve those tactics and get what you want?
I would say we've been curving for too long, and we need to actually be in a state of war and a war consciousness.
What does that look like? What does this war look like? Because we ain't got no money. So, what does this war look like?
After you get the reparations.
A great example of that war and that war consciousness comes like the Taliban, comes like the PLO. It comes from a state of knowing that you are the oppressor and you are the open enemy, and we'll fight you with tooth and nail with everything that we have.
But the Taliban had allies that they didn't agree with. So are you saying that you're gonna, part of warfare is to hook up with other white supremacists just to get, these tanks and weapons and stuff?
So is the white man supposed to wait a minute? Is the white man supposed to economically sponsor his demolishment? Is he supposed to economically sponsor the dismantling of his own supremacy. Is that you got a problem with me, Ish, and I say, hey, yo, man, let me go pay your plane ticket over here so you could go bring me the smoke. You ain't got to pay shit, man. I'm gonna put you up in a hotel and all that.
Something is
Wait.
Respond to his
I got a question. I do have a question.
Let me respond to his question.
Let me jump in really quickly, Ish, so I'm clear. I like to be clear. Are you saying that there should be a war prior to the reparations to get reparations, or a war after you get the reparations? Just so I'm clear.
No, I'm saying that the consequences of not receiving reparations definitely should be an act of war. That we're already in a state of an act of
Continue.
war. When you steal a people, that is an act of war. We're in a state of a cold war right now. And we're not active participants in that mentally or spiritually. So until we take on that stance, and yes, we can look to allies, but we don't have to look to Caucasians or Europeans as allies. You have the Chinese that exist. You have other African countries. If you look that Cuba supported the South African freedom. So, and they sent troops over to South Africa. So there are many individuals and different countries that we could look towards if we then took a solid position, because the same dog that bit us bit them as well.
No, he's right. Cuba did a lot for Black Americans and even for the Black struggle. No, he's right. He's right.
So what is
and Brown coalition?
No, he's right on that. It's true.
So what does this war look like?
Did a lot. Financed the Panthers. You know, I mean, when you talk about
he financed the Young Lords. He came to the Bronx and actually saw their struggle. He wanted to sue the United States. No, you're right.
But see, this is what y'all don't realize.
Wait 1 second, listen. Wait 1 second, Lily.
Let Lily talk. Lily's been quiet now. Y'all gonna piss me off.
And I'm just saying, this is a different day. What you all are referring to is a different crop of Black people. Like the Black people of today don't have the same type of favor with the rest of the world. Nobody likes us.
They really don't.
They don't like us.
Not only that, Lily. Not only that. Let's be realistic. Not only the liking thing, but I think Ish is underestimating how comfortable Black people are. Okay, the majority of everybody right now is just worried about how many likes they got on their shit and can they monetize their social media.
That's
Point blank, period. People are comfortable. We can come and go as we please. We could fuck who we want. We could be hoes online. We could eat where we want. We could travel. Ain't nobody asking for our freedom papers. We worried about how many likes does this shit got, because I got to get monetized and I got a bill to pay. It's not like back in the days. This is not the time of the Young Lords or the Black Panthers. Honestly, the plight seems so fucking archaic. I am all for reparations. Please drop that reparations check so Gucci, Fendi, Prada, Balmain could get their fucking money and everybody can shut the fuck up. I want the reparations to come.
Hold on. If they do reparations, just pay my student loan debt and a lifetime supply of therapy. I'm good.
They already did reparations with the PPP scams, and we saw what they did with that coin.
I just want them to pay Navient. I'm good.
Question. You don't think something positive might come out of this reparation thing? Like, of course, there's gonna be some negative, but you know,
I think the majority is going to be negative, but I do think that if the reparations checks were cut, yes, I think a handful of people are going to open up businesses, put their kids through college. Absolutely, I think. But the majority, because of the culture of this country, Givenchy, Balmain, Gucci, Fendi, Prada, Jordan is going to sell out. The Jordans are going to sell the fuck out. Okay?
They finna be in Walmart getting big screen TVs, round sound like a motherfucker. The same shit.
I may get one pair of
Jordans. But the TLCs.
Listen, look how we act. Look how we act. Humans already showed you what they are. During the pandemic, the way people were acting, Black Friday after Thanksgiving, motherfuckers are rolling around on the floor for TVs. That's humans. Why do people think that reparations checks are going to drop and everybody's going to have an epiphany like, let's move our people forward? Jordans, Gucci, Fendi, Prada, Louis Vuitton,
Actually,
Balmain.
you're not
They're gonna
lying.
get their money. They're gonna get their money.
Look what happened in tax season. You know what I'm saying? So
But no, look
you're
what
right,
happened
you're
during
right,
look
you're
what
right.
happened during the pandemic with the PPP loans and the stimulus checks. There were people who started businesses, but overwhelmingly, people went out and created new bills by buying Mercedes, by stepping out of the
There was some
Mercedes with their
females.
red
There was some
bottoms.
females with new bodies in different places.
Right, there was a lot of new bodies. A lot of BBLs was popping up, so we already see what the reparations are going to look like. Those are reparations, though, y'all. I'm just trying
right,
to
but look, I think that honestly speaking, and you guys, like I said, we still got a little bit of time to trigger people. In the Black community, in the dark brown Black community, in the dark brown Latino community, the problems are so much bigger than fucking money. The way we think about our self-esteem is in the shitter. Okay. We're still impregnating people with abandon. Everybody get dick. Everybody get dick. You get a baby. You get a baby. The problems are so much bigger than some fucking money. I'm telling you, you drop that check, those checks are going to be blown. Men are still going to be impregnating women with abandon. Chicks are still going to be twerking. They're going to be... I'm telling you, the problems are so much bigger as a people than money.
Yeah.
The people that want out, now I'm talking about collectively all of us, people of color. The people that want out, get the fuck out without thinking about a cracker one damn time. They take themselves to college. They open up businesses. They hustle, whether they're alone or not. They don't have a cracker on their mind at all. The people that get out, and I'm talking about Black and brown. Okay, they get the fuck out. That's why I was telling Lewis, I ain't got time to wait for some reparations or a handout. I ain't got time.
You gotta do it yourself.
But you know what? You said something earlier, Jen, to Lewis, when you was talking about the Ecuador and all that. And we used to use this term back in the day when I thought I was gonna be a little gangbang. I thought I was gonna be a little hair-looking flower dyke, And I'm trying to figure out why the fuck I felt like Lewis was false flagging, because I was like, how you say, the we? And I'm like, I ain't good with this pronoun. It's she, her, and all that bullshit. They, them, jam, jam. Fuck it. I'm an old ass lesbian. But Karan, I fucks with you the long way, because you said talk from your chest. Nigga, you was talking from your balls. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand where he was going, because he fucked me up. He talking about I could slap a police officer and I'm gonna get. If he a bitch police officer, nigga, you dead. I hope you're.
Spro show, Spro. Yeah, Spro.
Well,
Spro.
he can probably slap a police officer and get away with it. I'm a dead nigga.
He couldn't slap him either. He couldn't slap a cop either.
He know goddamn well that motherfucker gonna be like, bueno. He ain't gonna say no shit about my name is Lewis Washington. He gonna talk all the goddamn Spanish he know. I'm not from here. Fuck it. I was passing through and go cut some grass.
I took the wrong way.
I don't know what the fuck. He lost me.
I just again I call out.
You
we
do.
lost the issue.
I love you, Jim. But Karan, I swear, if I like dick, nigga, I would be on your lap with a blunt, sucking your dick.
Oh my God, what is happening? What is happening?
I just was like,
I love the block.
You got to have a part two with Lewis.
Man. Scrape it out
You got to have a part two with Lewis, Jen, and Lily, because I'm still.
I would like to have a part two. I just wanted to. I think we did good tonight. I wanted to point out some of the hypocrisy, and I did. And it's funny, Lily. You know how you say Exhibit A always shows up. It's like because again, I don't think people realize they romanticize oppression and Blackness, and I'm talking about Latin people. Okay, they romanticize oppression and Blackness. So it's like our people, we people, what? But I'm like, you're Ecuadorian and Dominican. I understand we all come the African diaspora. I understand our roots are African, but your culture, like you Dominican, you're eating mangul. Okay, so I'm just wondering, and don't get me wrong, some people are for the people collectively, right?
But you also got
some people are for the people, but
Black people that do the same thing too.
Absolutely.
Like
Yes.
for example, the Puerto Rican scholar Arturo Schomburg.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He's Puerto Rican, but a lot of black folks will be like, "No, he black," and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Was he eating Maduro or was he eating grits?"
And the thing is that he would tell you he's Puerto Rican. Arturo Schomburg would tell you he's Puerto Rican.
And the thing is, Arturo Schomburg is the father of the woke pro-black movement. Let's keep it 1,000.
Yep.
He's the one that got all the information and all that other stuff. So if we really want to talk about black and brown unity, let's talk about the achievements that both people did together.
Yes. Roberto Clemente, yes. Lolita LeBron, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the names go on, but I just think, again, going back to what Lita said, it's laziness, it's ignorance. Yeah. I'm just saying, and here's the thing. I understand people that are detached, not in tune, and it's like they live. I know people personally, they live very innocent lives. They don't get into this race shit. They don't get into that. They like, look, I'm going to work. I come home. I cook dinner. I go to sleep. Right, Holly? Like, I don't get involved. But I just think, if you're gonna stand here in front of me as a Latino and say, yeah, cause this and I'm a fudge this, you better be well versed and know Latin activists too. There is no excuse.
Boom, microphone drop. That's all I'm saying.
There's no excuse, because if you're not well versed and you're neck deep in only black activism and black plight, I'm gonna think that you're a phony and you just choosing black oppression because it's romantic.
Isn't that called a pick-me?
Well, I don't.
Yeah.
Well,
right? Wouldn't that be called a pick-me?
Yeah.
That's a totally different
Yes
topic.
and no.
No, but
Yeah,
if we want to talk about black activists, let's also look at some of the black activists that actually had some Latino activists. For example, Marcus Garvey had Carlos Cooks, who was a Dominican, who actually was more radical than him. You know what I'm saying? So these are the type of people that we should also put out there so people could know.
Asada Shakur loved Lolita LeBron. Lolita LeBron is Puerto Rican.
She's in Cuba right now, and and Cuba's protecting her. So
yeah. There you go. I mean, there is a black and brown coalition. Don't let Auntie Tariq Nasheed fool you now. We run deep. We run deep.
Let me say this: in LA currently, there's a low-key movement developing that's trying to close the gap between the Black and Latino gangs that exist, and that they're actually really stopping certain wars that have been going on for 20 and 30 years. So in the next, I mean, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, obviously, but like you have the Florencia 13s and a gang called the East Coast Crips, no attachment to New York or anything, but they had a 20 to 30 year war, and they got on the phone and FaceTimed and did all this and met and said, the Florencia said, you know what? Any one of our little homies break this treaty, we'll deal with them, not you all. And they made it very clear. And the East Coast Crips said, all right, we'll abide by it. And there has been no bloodshed. And this is going on for at least 13 months so far.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do notice something regarding reparations. It's starting to look like it's an old head thing. You notice that? It's an old head thing. These kids on TikTok are making 5 figures, 4 figures. They don't give a damn about it. They don't give a damn about a reparations check.
Well, the trick bag,
They don't.
California is on the front line of
They don't care.
trying to pass some sort of reparations.
Oh no, you're late.
Scenario.
California said no.
They said no.
DeSantis
They
said no.
They
DeSantis
said
said
no.
no.
But don't you think?
No. Well, hold on. That no, he said no, but it's still in the they have a vote that's supposed to take place on the in August on the 27th.
He's going to veto it. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, of course, but I'm just saying but there's a trick bag attached to it. Was my point. I'm very aware of that kind of dynamic, but there's a trick bag attached to it. It puts so many stipulations, and you had to have been born and raised in California. You have to be a certain age. Like they just put all these kind of,
I swear, hope is our opium. I hope it's not opium. I swear they will hope us to goddamn death.
Let me ask a question. What's up, Fighter Complex? You're Dominican. You got some I know you got some opinions. You are Dominican, you're Latino. Ish, don't you think that the old heads could learn a lot from the youngins and how they are carrying on and how they're becoming independently wealthy and how they're very independent from the white man and they're doing their own thing and they're very, very resourceful. These kids are like, I can make money doing what? I know some teenagers personally that are killing it. And the last thing off their mouth is, well, you know, the white man, oh, it's because we built this country. Them kids don't give a
They don't care about that shit.
so you don't think that these old heads that are like I think what the old heads should be doing is counseling the younger folks to build a better community than worrying. We need our reparations. Y'all are gonna die with your canes. I think somebody voted yes on our reparations. These kids don't care. Don't you think that you have something to learn from the youngins? They are not tied to the cracker.
Entrepreneurship and doing for self, I absolutely concur with that. This generation has mastered that dynamic. I agree with that. The aspect that we still have to take into consideration, though, when it comes to all that, is that there's a consequence for past actions. And if we don't stand and take a position for the consequence, if I got beat by a set of cops, and as I'm going down before I die, and I see my son way over there, or I see a brother that I'm cool with way over there, I'm giving him the look like, you deal with these motherfuckers. So I know that our ancestors, if they could speak about what they endured, that they want a voice in this generation to stand up and say, you know what? There's a consequence for what happened to our ancestry in the past.
Does that include Black slave owners?
Absolutely. Anybody that benefited from slavery has a consequence attached to it. And if Black Americans, if there's a financial line that you can trace, that you can say this can let's just use a random. If Magic Johnson Enterprises, their money comes down a long line of lineage of slavery, you got to pay those families that your family owned and address that, because that's part of the consequences of owning slaves. It no longer diminished from the factor of race, but if you own slaves and you profiteered off of slavery, then those descendants need to be compensated for what you did.
I just want them checks to be cut, because it'll be the biggest proof that the biggest problem Black people have is themselves. Please cut that check, America. Please cut it.
Let me say this.
Please cut the check. Give the land. Please cut that check.
There will be those that totally piss it off, but at the end of the day,
the majority will piss it off. The majority will piss it off.
Don't worry.
The majority will piss it off. But wait a minute. Wait. I gotta say, it sounds stupid when you say, yeah, they'll just piss it off. You sound stupid. You sound like the condition that Black people in is okay long as the white man gives them some money.
I'm not saying that. So
that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that in totality. What I'm saying in a certain aspect of it.
Halfway.
No. There's portions. There are in any real activist group that has been involved in the reparations process over the past 20 to 30, 40, 50 years, they all have laid out to educational systems, land.
That's insanity.
Army.
It is insanity. That's the definition of insanity.
Listen, with these young people, it's a lot of things that they look at us and they're like, that shit didn't work for mom. That shit didn't work for them. They've been having the same conversation. Hold on, they can just Google. See, they have the liberty of pulling up these phones and going on YouTube and seeing a Malcolm X speech from 1960 and saying they're saying the same shit now.
So
This
are
is
you suggesting
insanity.
you just saying we submit and just quit and just
No,
live?
no, no, no,
Wait
no,
a
no. What
minute.
I'm
These,
saying,
wait a minute. These kids are not submitting. Wait a minute. These kids are not submitting to anybody. That's
Exactly.
your generation.
Right.
That
That's
was
the
your
point I'm
generation.
making. No,
That was your generation. These kids are making money. They're not submitting
all
to
the kids are making
nobody.
money.
And they
There's
sure
still
as
kids
hell not
running out there
submitting to
gang
y'all.
banging, dope dealing, and
They not
hoeing out
submit.
here
You
on
are weighing down the youth in this country. They are not submitting to y'all, and they are not submitting to the white man.
Here's the reality.
Honestly, I think your point of view is damaging. It is damaging to our youth. It is damaging because you're constantly putting a white monkey on their back. Don't forget you got that white monkey on your back. Don't forget you got that white monkey on your back. Yes, it is. It's damaging. It's damaging.
No,
It's damaging.
what I'm saying is this.
It's archaic. It's damaging.
We still are in a perpetual state of ignorance, and there's still entities that are out there that are facilitating that. Just as if a 13-year-old boy walks up onto somebody's steps, knocks on the door, and gets his head blown off.
All right, can I?
That's at the core of the racism.
Let the young man let the young man speak. Let the young man speak. Let the young man speak because he's been here for a while.
All right, so I mean, damn, I'm mad radical left, because radical Latino knows my stance on this, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, right?
I didn't even notice he left. He didn't say bye.
Yeah. I used to be.
Y'all done scared him off. He gone. He ran. Fuck that.
I used to be very pro-black, right? Like when I was younger, and because where I come from, right, our tribe, whatever it's called, Colo in Dominican Republic, right, and we're mixed with Afro-Caribbean people, right? English-speaking people, and I always knew like that I was black, but until I had the privilege of living in DR and in America, but I knew that a Black American, there was something distinct about it because culturally we're a little different, right? And I guess that's why I was open to being pro-black or whatever, until I dated a young Haitian lady, right? And she told me, look, why are you so? I was hyper racist. I hated white people, and she told me, why are you so racist towards white people? Like, use your energy towards other things in life. And I started doing that, and it was like, wow, you're fucking right. Like most of right, and I don't understand this whole black and brown unity, like through trauma bonding. It's kind of weird, right? Because I believe as individuals, we should move as individuals, right? Because you say, oh, I care about my black and brown people, but you're not helping people in your own family that need some help, that need a hand, that need a little loan, but you care about somebody that lives 1,000 miles away. Like, come on, man, let's be real here. And the funny thing about me is I'm best of both worlds, right? Because not only I'm Hispanic, but I'm black too. So I'm the bridge to both. So I know a lot of people are full of shit. They come online saying all this good. It's what's that called again? Like morality. They want to signal morality. Like, oh, look at me. And this hierarchy, even when it comes to was that intersectionality or the struggle, there's hierarchies. First, they put black, gay, then you have Hispanic, then you have Asian, then white. Like I can't do that, man. Like at the end of the day, it's survival. It's survival of the fittest, man.
I just need to
out
say
of the mouths of babes.
I need to really say a few things. You know what I mean? Are you finished with your point, young brother?
Yeah, I'm good now. I had to get that off my chest because
thank you.
Like, come on, man. We gotta wake up. Like, we're not in the 60s with black people in the streets was getting hosed down. Like, that's not happening anymore.
Okay,
that's not happening anymore. But go ahead.
Look, listen. You know what I mean? Ish. Okay, for the older black people on the panel. I mean,
and let's be short. Let's be short because we got like 15 minutes left.
I'm definitely going to be short. For the older black people on the panel, we can contend that we came from a different America. There were lines actually drawn. Okay, there was white people and there was everybody else. and everybody else got basically thrown in the bucket to die. You know what I mean? The hood now ain't nothing like the hood what it was in the 80s. A lot of y'all need to knock this shit off. Y'all can actually get out of the hood. We come from a time when you most likely died in the motherfucker. You know what I mean? This is not 88. This is not dying like that. You are dying, but you're not dying at an exponential, disgusting rate that we were dying back in, in the 80s. Okay, a lot of y'all are cosplaying because you're constantly being told that Black trauma is your identity and you're feeding into it. It's not your identity, okay? All right, James, you were up here, you're constantly throwing shots from the side. I promise you, you don't know real desperation. I look at you, I see how you carry yourself. You come from a 2-parent household. I'm not knocking you from it, but you're not from the world that people such as myself are from. You don't know real desperation. You ain't never seen your mama goddamn, sit down on her knees damn near every goddamn month praying that she makes rent. You ain't never seen a big ass block of government cheese so huge and thick and hard that you actually commit a crime. You ain't never seen that shit before in your life.
That cheese was nasty, by the way. I hated that fucking cheese.
Knock it off. Stop it. Go on. Live your life. You know what I mean? Live your life. The struggle ain't nothing to be proud of. There is no nobility in poverty. I don't know why you motherfuckers keep holding on to this shit. Being broke sucks.
I swear they remind me of the white people who like, oh, you poor black, oh, I want to, yeah, Black Lives Matter. I'm like, that's what they're turning into. But I am telling you, please drop those fucking checks. Just drop the checks. So just drop the checks because it will prove yet again, like a lot of other things prove, the problem is within and amongst the community. It has nothing to do with that check.
It's just a mentality thing.
Has
It's not
nothing to
money.
do with
It's a
that check.
mentality.
And I gotta say, salute to the young people. When I hear like Fighter Complex and other young people talk that shit, that is who we are innately as a people. We are fighters. We are fucking go-getters. We gonna get shit done. We gonna get in the room and let you know we in the room. That old shit, that's old head shit, and it's gonna die off with them. These kids are making money, and well, they're not all making money. Even the ones that are not making money are not thinking about reparations. They're like, this is what I want on TikTok. This is what I want.
Exactly.
They're not thinking about that because they're not under the same oppressive boot. Is there still racism? Yeah.
Yes.
But it got so cool that now Black people are racist online. It's so good now. Now Latin people are racist. Everybody's racist now. It is so cool. Like all of us are racist and we're all talking about it online. We're using emojis to be racist. Let me tell you, like it's different now. It's different. And these old heads, I mean, it's great for talking points. It's great so that you could do seminars like Tariq Nasheed does in fake ass seminars like reparation. Motherfuckers just lying in his pockets.
Right.
It's a great talking point, but I'm kind of neutral whether it happens or it doesn't happen. I just want it to happen so you can see yet again the issue is not that check.
Well, you know how I look at reparations. I look at reparations like an inheritance from the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know how people like you've seen it. We've met those people who wait for someone to die. They're just waiting for someone to die so they can collect. And then when they don't collect because something intercepts it, then they're fucking angry for something they never worked for. Like grandma worked for that, mama worked for that. So there was never a guarantee that you was going to get it. Never a guarantee you was going to get it. Right? So for me, I've never thought like that. Like I've never looked around and just waited for like someone to die or some easy way. It was like, you know what? Ain't nobody coming to save me. Okay. So my best bet is this. My best bet is to figure this shit out. And if something does fall out the sky, boom, that's a bonus.
Yes.
But they're like spending their whole, do you know how many people have died having this reparations conversation?
I mean, when you hear the past 50 years, they've been,
They died. They spent their whole life talking about reparations. They're now gone. And then you have a whole nother crop of people doing the same thing and that are on their way out of here and still haven't gotten their reparations.
They're gonna die off. A lot of this is also wrapped in religion, as you know, organized religion. They're gonna die off. These kids don't care. These kids don't care.
I just wanted to bring it up. It's interesting that we are saying that like it's gonna die off. I think again, and I think I'm sorry, the gray shirt. He said it's kind of Haran. We were living in victimhood, and I'm just like, okay, yes. And I just want to evolve. I'm just trying to get these bills paid and, have a wonderful day. I guess for me, I don't think about being Black because until it's in my face, it's something I don't think about. I'm trying to pay these bills and live my best life ever and take care of my new puppy. That's it.
Right.
And I fucking love that because that you get the best quality of life living like that. But to have this and that's what I'm saying respectfully, you already know my stance and my point of view. Respectfully, people that talk like Ish are poison to the youth. That is my stance. I'm sorry. People that are constantly reminding you, don't forget you're Black. Don't forget you're Black. Don't forget the white man is on your neck. Don't forget that is poison to a child. It is fucking poison. You have to raise your child. Yes, tell them about the history. Then tell them, don't forget, someone that looks like you will fuck you in the ass just as fast. Matter of fact, faster, because that's going to be your environment and your community, okay? Proximity. So more than likely in this life, son or daughter, you're going to get fucked in the ass. And it's going to come worse from people that look like you. I'm not putting on my grandchildren or my children, the white man, it's the white man. No, it's going to be that bitch that you said you was going to trust, your best friend. It's going to be that man that you said you was going to love forever. It's going to come from your immediate surroundings. So to put this, you giving white people too much fucking credit. Bad Bunny said it. The way you view white people and these gods that they are, that shit must end. And he's Latino. He said that shit must end. The pedestal you put white people on, whether it's them being good or bad, because even if you make white people the monster, the devil, the bad, you're still putting them on a pedestal.
They're deifying them.
You're still doing that. And that is poison to a young person. Teach them people are grimy, period, in general. And more than likely, the person gonna fuck you in the ass, no Vaseline, is gonna look like you. Yeah. Probably gonna be related to you. Probably gonna the person that said that they love you. So to me, it's poison. I'll be glad when all these people die off. I'm gonna take joy. Die off, whether the check comes or not. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them.
I just take my cue from my father. My father is 70 years old. And of course, he lived through that time, through the civil rights era as a child. He lived through abject poverty. I mean, like he wasn't poor. He wasn't poor. He wasn't poor. That's how poor he was.
He couldn't afford the O.
Right.
Just couldn't afford another. Exactly. Couldn't afford 2 vowels and another consonant. But I actually learned from him because I see this man who has gone through that time frame, and he just lived his life. He just sit on that goddamn porch, he go charge up his Tesla, and that's it. He's just living his life. And it's just like, even as a Black man who has experienced so much more than I have, it's sort of like I've seen him over the years since, I've seen him in his 30s. I've seen him in his 40s, 50s, 60s, and how he's just evolved and just on another plane where it's just like, yo, I'm just trying to enjoy my retirements, make sure my goddamn car parked up, and that, I got my jailbroken fire stick and we having a great day. Maybe put a couple steaks on the grill.
And honestly, when you make white people the problem, it's a very comfy life, right? Because, it gives an excuse for your defeatism. When you make white people the problem, it gives you an excuse to be defeatist. It's like, well, look at our system. Look at the white people. It gives you an excuse. Meanwhile, there are men and women blowing past you. And you're like, how are you doing that? You're Black, right?
I would say this, that the dialogue is not that of, the white man is the boogeyman. It's identifying the source of our problems and not saying that we are the ultimate source of our problems, but that there is a factor. And when you're aware of that, and when I look at the dynamics of how that does influence young people to be more entrepreneurial, to be more active, to be more involved in their community, I disagree with you when you say that this is poisonous to the community, because I watch lives personally transform from the aspect of understanding the context of their history, the context of their condition, and making a self-determination to make a change. So I see that, and I see the effect of that. So to say that it's poisonous and it makes a group of defeated Negroes, that I disagree with wholeheartedly.
Okay, so this is what I said. I said it gives it, first of all, Negroes in this country are already defeatists. So I didn't say it makes them defeatists. They're defeatists. What I said was blaming the white man makes their defeatism, that gives it an excuse. Second, you can raise a child with everything you just said without making the white man the boogeyman. You said we don't say that the white man is the boogeyman, but then you followed it up with describing him as a boogeyman. You do realize you said that, right? You said we don't teach that the white man is the boogeyman, but then we just want them to know that why do they have to know? Why don't you say Asian people could fuck you in the ass too? Just so you know, Black people could fuck you in the ass too. Latins could fuck you in the ass too, given the opportunity. Humans are opportunists. We're all opportunists. We're gonna take that a fucking opportunity if we get it. When you concentrate on the factor of the white man being the enemy or the reason, you deify him. You make him bigger than he is. That is what I'm talking about. You make him bigger than he is. No, you got to say collectively, humans are fucked up. And if one of them could get over on you, they're going to get over on you. But the concentration on the white man and this and the reparation to this, you make him a boogeyman. That's literally the definition. You make him a boogeyman. Again, let me simplify it. 5 apples. That green one is bad. They're all apples. They all got seeds, but that green one is really bad. That green one is the factor. Then you go out in the world, and every time you see a green apple, you're like, oh my God, I can't go in there because the green apple is the worst one. That is what you're doing with white people. That is what you're doing with white people. And it's a very comfortable, spot to be in to blame. Well, that's one of the factors. Why the emphasis? Like, get off white people's dick is what I would say from the Bronx. That's what I would say. Like, get off white people's dick. Get off white people's dick.
I do too.
Right. Like, get off their dick already.
But I would say this. I would say this.
Jesus.
When you still have homes that have images of white people as their God, you have to have that voice of discernment.
Oh my! What homes? What homes have white people as their God? What homes are these?
My grandma just took down white Jesus not too long ago.
I walked
Your grandma just took down white Jesus about the same time.
Hold on.
Your grandma.
Just because I walked into a home the other day of a young Christian family that had a white Jesus on the wall. And I said, that's historically inaccurate, right? Because all that took place in Africa, right?
But that's archaic too. How many, listen, religion is dying down as well. All this shit, why can't people accept we're evolving and changing? We have artificial intelligence girlfriends now. We're evolving, which all that Jesus shit, black, white, or purple, whatever Jesus you choose, the one with the woolly hair and the brass feet, they're all dying down. All of this shit is dying down. People about their paper and their money and progress. No, I'm not. No, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. The thing you're talking about is archaic. Atheism is growing. Are you surprised about that?
No, I'm not.
Atheism is growing. People are letting go of the mumbo jumbo, the whimsy, the white man is the devil, Jesus was white or black. People are evolving. And you guys are going to die off. And let me tell you something, your kids are not going to give a fuck about a reparations check. They're going to finish college. They're going to finish college. They're going to be working their money. You could disagree. It doesn't mean that you're not wrong. You could disagree.
Ish, I just want to say one thing real quick, Ish.
And then we got to run. Oh, this was getting good. We got to go.
And in terms of your perspective and a representative of the NOI, I can't necessarily take your perspectives too seriously. Because you guys are in bed with Scientology.
Who say what?
Where is it? I don't understand.
And the reason
I don't understand your
reason
point.
Being that it is a very devilish white-owned organization, and you can't be making money with these people. while calling the white man a devil and constantly telling these young people that the white man is on your neck, while in the same token making money with the same white man who is on their neck. Which one is it? Is it Uchiwali or is it one Mike? So basically, that's essentially what I'm asking.
No, I was just trying to make the connection. I was like, oh, we didn't get to it.
I would say very clearly, if and your position would probably change if the minister said, all right, go over here and get some information from Harvard or Yale or from some school, and you say, oh wow, the nation is being progressive because they're going over here and they're educating. There's an aspect, and Jen can bear witness, there's an aspect to their organization that has viability to it. We are not aligning ourselves in relationship.
The Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam was having economic issues. The Nation of Islam was having economic issues, and they went to Scientologists to get a check. That is what has happened. And Farrakhan gets a check every time that a black person signs up to become a Scientologist. We need to start talking about the truth in this motherfucker. If we're gonna stand on truth, let's start standing on fucking truth. Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam is holding the white man's pocket. He has his hands. He's holding the white man's pocket.
Do one mic. Come on, do one mic. You guys, do one mic really quickly. Wait. Take a breath. One mic, please, because y'all both yelling. Sound like a barbershop. Can't hear either one of y'all.
But it's just it's an old.
But Ish, let me finish what I'm saying. Now you're interrupting me. Wusa, soldier.
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Samurai up in this bitch. You know how it goes. I just wanted to say, Cherokee Bill says, actually, the Instagram chicks is turning to the Bible now. This is why the Instagram chicks are turning to the Bible, because it is lots and lots of money in the black community. If you let the black, if you even insinuate that you're about Jesus in the Bible, black people will swarm you, because it worked for Tyler Perry. Okay. Black Jesus and Christianity and the Bible is big money in the black community. So if you think Black China, okay, is doing that because now she just found Jesus, no, it's a different lane. It's a different lane, and there's a lot of money in that Bible. So now she opens herself up to a whole new demographic. Look at the Christian. Oh my gosh, she came back to the Lord. Yes, Black China.
She'll be on TBN in a couple of
months.
TBN,
absolutely. It's a hustle. It's a hustle. Ish, what were you saying? I don't know what you're talking about, James. James said he pissed someone off. I don't know.
Give me a second. Daddy Duty's kicking in. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So I want to say one thing quick, and I'll be out.
Okay. Yeah, we closing. Yeah. We're gonna have to do a part 2.
I believe, guys, like the Crocs. Do you guys know what Crocs are? Like the shoes. It's similar to like pseudo wokeism, social justice work, whatever, right? Ideology. It's a fad. It's a cool thing to do. People just want to join into the next thing.
Right.
Like a quick example. 3 years in 2020, there was some protests or something going on, and some girl that she gave Erykah Badu vibes, right? Very good looking, very earthy. And she was going to the protest. So I was like, yo, you know what? Like, fuck it, let me go with her. Because I just want to smash, right? So I go with her, right? I go with her. And I guess it was about some young African kid who was unalived by the police.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he had some mental issues. I guarantee you 90% of the kids at that protest did not know the intricacies of the case or what happened, right? Because when I found out what happened, because I looked it up, I'm like, oh, wait, I saw the footage, the camera footage and everything's on YouTube. I'm like, oh, well, he kind of was bugging, rushing a police officer. I mean, they're going to probably do something to you, but everyone was there protesting, crying, yelling. And the funny part, the leader of that whole protest is quote unquote Black Lives Matter was a white girl. And it was funny to me, And half of the black kids that were in charge of the thing, their partners were white. So I'm like, yo, it's kind of funny to me. I don't know.
Because
that's what I
because
thought.
because
All of the protests up here would look like that. They all
right,
look like
because
that.
of social media, these marches are now social events. It's what are you
Right.
wearing? Are you wearing that t-shirt? I'm wearing this. It's literally becoming like a music festival. It's becoming like a music festival. Everybody just go, "Ooh, what hat you gonna wear? What t-shirt you gonna wear?" These kids are different.
It's
They're
a fad, man.
different.
It's a fad. It's a fad. But yeah.
Ish, you wanted to rebut.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in relationship to the same go-to that Hiran always goes to. Unless you have a real comprehensive knowledge on what the actual relationship is and what is actually being done, I really think that you're just trolling in truth, because you don't know the dynamics of the relationship. The nation has not had financial issues. Hell, we as the believers just gave damn near $90,000. 90 ounces of gold to the minister collectively, just from the believers. The minister could have taken money from a variety of entities and organizations to water down his teaching. So for us to take some sort of study relationship with Scientology in relationship to some of the tools that they have in dealing with trauma doesn't make us in bed with the white man, as you say. So we see that there are areas of study in when we're dealing with trauma that work better than traditional psychology. So that just is an aspect of just what we're looking at, but that does not change the direction of what our position is and what our goals are for our community. So to keep throwing that up every time, oh, you're in bed with the women. It's like, come on, brother. You can do better than that.
Haran, you
Can't
on
hear
mute.
you,
You on
Haran.
mute.
So you're basically saying that you're incapable of the nation was incapable of basically putting together some ideas in order to let the community handle trauma and move forward. So you needed to get in bed with Scientologists. You needed the white man's help in order
No,
to
I
help the
would say
community.
if you study the root of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, he says, study the white man for his successful, and he makes no excuses for his failures. So
I'm
if you
trying to
study,
understand the need
hold on,
for
hold
the.
on. I did not interrupt you.
Okay, no problem. My apologies.
Yes, sir. So if we see a course of study that's useful and can be utilized to aid the community, why not delve off into that study? That's the bottom line of the relationship. If you really look at it, you don't see a rush of Black Scientologists running around the streets in the Black community. Their community centers are pretty much desolate when it comes down to that. So that accusation of being in bed with Scientology versus saying, okay, what they're talking about here, we agree with, and we're doing a course of study on that. That's it.
Can I say
don't see the
something?
need.
Yeah. Can I say something?
You
If
don't
you're
have a comprehensive
here's
knowledge. That's cool.
Ish, if you're saying, here's where it just doesn't add up. It's 2023 and you're still deifying this white man, this white devil. You want to teach the youth that the reason for their condition and their condition in this country is still because of the white man. So you must understand. I mean, let's not play stupid here. You must understand that when you go to the white man to help you repair the Black man, anyone with common sense is going to ask you, then that ain't your enemy, honey. That's your daddy.
Right. That's kind of like eating
That's
a small
that's common sense.
It's kind of like eating a small piece of bacon. Just a little
No,
small piece. Of
that's
Yes.
not. That's not.
You're literally no ish. No wait.
Let's look at the aspect of if I'm going to study, let's say aeronautical engineering, and I go to a school that is prominent in that field of study, does that now put me in bed with that, or am I just gathering information to utilize in my community?
The reason
Did you
why
lambast the school?
exactly the
You
reason
may
why
have.
the reason why the term is embed is because y'all do it, but nobody else does it. Y'all made the white man the devil, the reason for all the Black plight in America. You did that. Nobody else did that. You did that. So simply, it's just hypocrisy. I don't understand why you don't see the hypocrisy. You can't make someone that dominant in your life for your failure and then go, oh, but you guys do have better, ways than we do. So can you help us? That shit is insane. It's incestuous. It's love-hate.
Here's a basic explanation. On one end, you're saying this person is the cause of all of your trauma. And on the other end, you're saying, I'm going to use this techniques that this person has to deal with trauma in order to fix us. Which one is it? What are we doing?
It's hypocrisy. It's
First
simply
of all,
hypocrisy.
What are we doing?
Let me say this. So that you put things in context. L. Ron Hubbard, quote unquote, is not the ultimate white man who was involved with slavery and the whole dynamic. If there is information in,
he was a nice white guy.
Yeah, I think
he's a nice
one. No.
One of the good
I'm not
ones.
saying that his history is clear. I'm not saying he's a good one at all. At all. He has made clear racist statements. But if there is a technique in relationship to dealing with trauma that we see is useful, then it makes sense. If you go into another circumstance and you say, I'm gonna go over here and study this to be able to be a better farmer.
I'm sorry, brother. That sounds like brother. That sounds like Runaway Y was better than what we got here. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Like it literally sounds like Runaway Y was better than what we have here. What's better than this white man? I didn't go to Asians. Y'all didn't go to India. Y'all didn't go to Iraq. Y'all didn't go to Iran. I mean, there are scholars. Y'all didn't go to the Dalai Lama. There are scholars. Let me finish. Ish, you know better than this. You know how to debate.
Pardon me.
You didn't go to the Dalai Lama. You didn't go to Asians. You didn't go. I mean, there are scholars globally, worldwide. Amazing. You didn't go to the freaking Buddhist. You didn't go to. Men are amazing worldwide. Wise scholars. You didn't go to none of them. You went to a white guy that you claim is the reason for all the problems. How can you not see the hypocrisy? Then you start looking crazy if you don't see the hypocrisy. You just start looking nuts. Men all over the world globally who've led men and armies and war. No, I want to go with L. Ron Hubbard, who's actually called us niggers. Because his system for psychology is so stellar. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like Runaway Y. What's better than what we got here? That's
like
what it
Jay
sounds
said,
like.
Jay said in the comments, politics makes strange bedfellows.
Yes, it does.
Again, let me say this again. Historically, the nation has resourced a lot of different entities, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different people from many different diverse groups. This is just one of them. Everybody keys in on this, but this is just one of them.
Because you made them the biggest devil on earth. That's why people key in on it. Stop acting ignorant. Stop acting like you don't know why people are pinpointing this. Not only are they white, not only do you claim they're devils, but they said racist statements. That is why people keying in. Stop acting like you don't know why. That's just like if I keep complaining about somebody and I keep complaining. Oh my God, I fucking hate it. Oh, but wait a minute, they're cooking. Oh, I'll be right back.
Let's wrap on this.
Anyone is gonna be like, you're a fucking hypocrite. Yeah, no. You don't understand. The way they make their steak. It's the way they make their steak.
Now, Jen,
if you had that steak.
Pardon me. Go ahead.
Let's just wrap on this right now because we're going in circles. Can we just have a part two?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we went past 3 hours. I appreciate everybody. Omar. I'm like, I didn't want you to be a fly on the wall. I wanted you to get in there, but it's your first time here.
No, so. It's my first time here. Yes, that's true. But I was always taught to. When I'm first walking into a room, I like to observe. I like to see what's going on. So I definitely loved what just happened, and I have a lot to say about it, and I'll say it on the next one. But definitely, this was dynamic. This was definitely dynamic.
Thank you so much. Please, if you get a chance, watch yesterday's show on spanking. That show was profound.
Okay.
It was profound. Give it a peek. Just click through it.
Oh, I got my ass whooped when I was younger. I don't know what anybody else is doing.
So up out the frame.
Please watch it. Please watch it. Please watch it. Especially if you got spanked. We all got spanked. But please watch it because it was so profound. It was a great conversation, very, very educational and informative. And I think everyone who got their ass whooped should watch it. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time. We want you back for part 2. You must be here. And I'll make sure you get your word in. Okay.
Okay.
And we appreciate you. I'm so appreciative of you. I don't know a lot of, brown skinned Puerto Ricans, right? Except for my daddy and his side of the family. Yeah. But it was great to see you here. And we don't only talk about serious stuff. We cover a lot of topics about show business and the industry and all that stuff. So please, we would love to have you as a regular up here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jen, speaking on that, Lewis, he I don't know if he talked about, he's got a lot of great film works that are coming out and a lot of great film projects that he's a part of. So,
yeah, he didn't. He had a bad connection. He could come back part 2 and drop all that in his social media handles and all of that. Omar, where can people find you online?
Oh, so I'm Omar A. Salgado on all social networks. That's OMARR. ASALGADO. That's, you find me anywhere. You can Google me. I'm there.
All right, guys, let's support this brother, por favor. Anyone else want to share their social media handles so people can stalk you?
Okay, so hey y'all, what's up again? I don't know why I do that. But anyways, you can find me on Instagram at Over 40 Podcast. I do have a channel here on YouTube that I've been lazy getting back up, but new episodes should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Life be lifing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Just do it, dog.
And I'm just saying, if y'all stalking and watching, Holly is hot. But y'all gotta go see that y'all go see that for yourself. I ain't giving no more details.
Well, I'm on her page right now.
That's what I'm talking. T-Bizzle too. T-Bizzle like, I'm going over there.
She done rolled on over there. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Last time she was there.
Guys, if you're still in the room, tomorrow, we are doing a watch party, okay? Starring, written, directed by our own Lily at YB Limited tomorrow, 8 p.m. sharp. Be sharp because we're gonna screen the film. We're gonna have a Q&A after with Lily. It's a beautiful, compelling film. Come catch it tomorrow's screening. And we can talk about the industry tomorrow and film and talk about what we all do collectively in the industry. It's gonna be a all Hollywood night tomorrow. So look good from the waist up because we can't see you I got shorts on. Waist up. Long as you look good from the waist up. But tomorrow, 8 p.m. sharp, we will be screening Lily's movie. It's very important. It is the first day of Pride tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things. So please come and support that, even if you're in the chat. And we'll bring people up to have conversations and ask Lily's stuff. Tomorrow's Lily's day. So please come out and support. It would really, really mean a lot to me. Anybody else want to give their handles before we out of here?
Check me out, Dangerous DeMarco on IG.
And check me out, Lily. Well, I'm Lily, and you can check me out at YB Limited, the way it's spelled here on the screen. That's the letter Y, the letter B, the word limited, and that is on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and here on YouTube.
And really quickly, this is Haran DeMarco. We have the most talented panel on YouTube. I say that hands down. Writers, actors, models. This is Haran's music. That's just a little bit, okay? We support each other here. T-Bizzle, where can they find your funny ass?
Girl, on the Instagram, T-Bizzle is a nut, because that's what I busted tonight. Swear to God. Go to my...
we canceled Freaking Friday, T-Bizzle.
We did cancel it.
We canceled, yeah. And you didn't get the memo.
baby, and go to my TikTok. I think it was 12:15, but this panel was off the chain tonight. I swear to God, Karan, if I was ever to be straight, you can get it from the back. You hear what I'm saying, bro? From the back, because our stomachs ain't gonna be able to, do nothing together.
Jen, this is sounding like love connection. You might have to start putting. You got Omar over here with Holly and Idris on Haran. That's a thing there. That's a thing
I'm
there.
loving you, but I'm gonna call you baby Mike Lee because you still in the 90s. But you
Okay.
too. My strap might be a little bit bigger than yours, but
Okay, on that note, Lily, where can they find you?
Oh no, you already got me, so we're done.
Okay. On that note, have an amazing evening, you guys. Please be back here tomorrow. Pull up 8 p.m. sharp, 8 p.m. Eastern sharp. Come support this show because I'll come get you.
Right.
All right, guys. All right. Good night.
night,
I love you
everybody.
all. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Good night. This was amazing. All right, guys. So if you're still here, we survived it. Black versus brown. What's the real issue? There's so many layers to it. We do have to do a part 2, and we'll hear from other panelists a little bit more. We kind of took over at certain points, but we're all passionate about this subject, and that's understandable. We will announce part 2. The only way you will know is if you follow On the Block with Jen on YouTube and On the Block with Jen on Instagram. I will post the notifications. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you know when we're up again. Again, the most talented, dopest panel on YouTube. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I appreciate you all. Okay, I do not take it for granted. Don't forget, if you want to support the show, On the Block with Jen Cash App is scrolling on the bottom. Hit that like and subscribe for me on your way out the door. And we will see you back here tomorrow for Lily's film. And this film is no joke. Written by her, starring her, directed by her. So come through tomorrow. Take a peek. Good night, guys. Thank you so much.